One thing I'm not clear about, were you the only shooter or were your co-defendants shooters too?
Me, Miss, I took full responsibility for. I was the only shooter.
How many guns did you have?
I had 2 guns.
What were they?
40 and 380.
You were shooting 2 guns out the window.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I stuck the guns out the back window and I started shooting.
You had 2 guns.
Yeah.
1 in each hand.
Yeah.
And you were shooting both of the guns.
Yes.
Did anybody else in the car have a gun?
Not to my knowledge, as you can see, in the police report, both of the guns were under my seat.
Yeah. So nobody else shot weapons from that car.
That's why I went to the hearing and then I tried to take responsibility.
I don't think you answered my question. Did anybody else in the car fire weapons out at the victim?
No.
That is interesting. Okay. So why then would you allow 1, 2, 3, 4 other people to go to prison for something that you did? I'm sure you're aware there were 2 guns being shot.
Yes, ma'am.
So who had the other gun?
Mr. Humphrey.
Okay. So you were both shooting out the windows.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you're certain that you shot the victim.
Yes, ma'am.
Huh. So why is it that no one has ever, I mean, we still have 2 different versions because, according to your co-defendant, he shot both guns.
Now, chances are this case, if you're a fan of this channel, might sound familiar to you. And that's because we've covered 3 of his cohorts already. And the crazy thing is that they all have different stories. Either they are the only ones that use 2 guns to kill a completely innocent person, a case of mistaken identity. You see, back in 2012, a man was just walking around in the neighborhood, actually going to the grocery store wearing a red shirt. They thought, oh, he's a member of the Bloods and someone we need to take out. And he was not a member of the Bloods, and he was the wrong person. General, they actually went and finished off the person who they wanted to kill, or their friends did, a few weeks later. So this is a total bloodshed, right? But now we have seen time and time again where all of these cohorts come in here and lie to the parole board. I mean, only one of them can be telling the truth. And here we are again, seeing just another case of what is probably a lie. Will it affect his chances at parole? Let's find out. Now, I'm going to leave the intro in where they're just waiting for the parole hearing to start. I think it adds some interesting color to the situation. Some of you might be curious what it's like going on before the hearing. If you want to skip ahead, I'm leaving timestamps in the description. For now, let's jump in.
Mr. Brody, it's Parole Officer Logan. We'll be with you shortly, okay?
All right.
All right, thank you.
No, thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm straight.
Sure, because you have to send it.
I'm straight. Yeah. You comfortable?
Yeah. I'm just trying to make sure you're comfortable. You can't fix it. That's how I feel.
Crazy. This is crazy. I know a lot of people looking at us, right?
Yeah, and also we're unmuted so they can hear.
We ain't saying nothing bad.
No, I know how to do it. Why do you think a lot of people are looking at us? There's not.
Nah, because a lot of people tune in to watch them.
Oh, they do?
Yeah.
Or your family?
Yeah, some of them is, but it's like public, so I'm saying.
Well, I told my mom, sure. Sure. Okay.
Well, you said don't close it.
Sure. I told my mom about it.
Over.
She told me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
They just came on and told us that you're going to be with us. They must be taking a short break or something. Okay, like a recess or whatever.
Nervous?
No. Are you nervous?
No.
He doesn't have to do anything. I can say it. I can say it. I say for the record, Attorney Shannon Lozier, I think I'll ask. Okay. Okay. How can you tell who's on there?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just those people right now? Oh, because the other people are watching the live stream? Yeah. You get nervous and you don't want to look at them, you can always just look straight ahead. That's what I do sometimes. Do great. Got this. Those three people are good.
It's a aggravating feeling.
You want me to try to get it?
Good afternoon, Mr. Brody.
Good afternoon.
My name is Parole Officer Logan. Today is Friday, May 24th, 2024, and this is the Public Act 1584 hearing of the Connecticut Board of Pardons and Paroles. Mr. Brody, for the record, the state of Connecticut passed and made effective October 1st, 2015, Public Act 1584, an act concerning lengthy sentences for crimes committed by a child or youth and the sentencing of a child or youth convicted of certain felony offenses. You fall under this act, and basically this means that you are under the age of 18 and that the board shall give great weight to the diminished culpabilities of juveniles as compared to adults, the hallmark features of youth, and any subsequent growth and maturity that you've displayed while we are reviewing you for suitability today. The following board members are present this afternoon, and by stating their names on the record, certify they have reviewed all statutorily required documents in preparation of this hearing.
Good morning, sir. I'm Jennifer Zaccanini.
Good afternoon,
Good morning.
Michael.
Oh, good afternoon. I apologize. Good afternoon, panel member Page.
Good afternoon.
Also in attendance this morning is the public defender. Can you please state your name, juris number, and business address?
Good morning, Attorney Shannon Lozier. My business address is.
Thank you. Also in attendance is the state's attorney. Please state your name, juris number, and business address.
I think you said the last guy though. This is a,
No, it's same ones for all of them, I thought. Attorney DeJoseph?
Yes,
Can you
Yes,
please
I'm here.
state- Okay, can you please state your name, juris number, and business address, please?
Michael DeJoseph.
Thank you. All those present this afternoon in regards to this hearing, please state your name for the record.
ooh, there's the social worker.
The social worker?
Hi, good afternoon. Rachel Sponzo, social worker with the Public Defender's Office in Danielson.
Thank you. Also present today is victim advocate Vasquez. Mr. Brody, please state your name and inmate number for the record.
Kyle Brody, 387113.
This is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14, Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1200, which applies to this procedure. Mr. Brody, if you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time.
No questions, ma'am.
Again, this is a public hearing. Do you have any questions, and are you willing to proceed at this time?
No.
Are you willing to proceed?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
My fault, man, my fault. Yeah.
No worries. This 1584 hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Kyle Brody, who is serving 25 years, executed, suspended after 20 years for manslaughter first, followed by 5 years probation. He is also serving 15 years concurrent for conspiracy to commit murder, 20 years concurrent for assault first, 2 counts of that, followed by 5 years probation. 2 counts of assault first, 5 years concurrent for carrying a pistol without a permit, and 10 years concurrent for. Sorry about that. I'm going to restart again. I apologize. This 1584 hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Kyle Brody, who was serving 25 years, executed, suspended after 20 years for manslaughter first, followed by 5 years probation. He is also serving a sentence of 15 years concurrent for conspiracy to commit murder, 20 years concurrent for assault first, 2 counts of that, 5 years concurrent for carrying a pistol without a permit, and 2 counts of sale of certain illegal drugs, 5 years concurrent, 5 years concurrent for robbery second, and 1 year concurrent for assault on public safety. Total effective sentence is 25 years, executed, suspended after 20 years, followed by 5 years probation. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed voices, anger management, alternatives to violence advance, people empowering people, grief recovery, and he works in the kitchen. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Brody, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
All right, thank you. I'd like to appreciate you. I appreciate y'all for listening to me, but I'd like to read this for y'all. I feel it's only right that I acknowledge the fact that I know I hurt plenty of people. I would like to be clear and not misunderstood. By me understanding the depths of these circumstances, I'm not looking to be accepted or forgiven for an apology that will never scratch the surface of the pain that was felt, that continues to be felt, that I caused. I could never justify my actions with my current mentality. All I can honestly ask and hope for is that I'm understood. The life of Gabriel was priceless, and he didn't deserve to go the way he did. I wish I could take all the pain back that I caused. There isn't an apology good enough to deliver, so as pitiful as it sounds, the only thing I can honestly say is I'm sorry. As I explain certain things, I hope it's not misinterpreted for me defending myself. I'm just here to expose myself and be truthful. I know I was young when this happened with a lot of room for growth, but I still knew what I was doing. I knew right from wrong. I just had a twisted perspective that allowed me to rationalize. It took time and experience for me to break out of that mentality. For years, I continued my reckless ways throughout my incarceration, resulting in me having a violent disciplinary history. I didn't have respect for anybody. I lived in my own world for a large percentage of my life, and every time I put myself in negative situations, all I did was contribute to my own self-destruction, exposing that I didn't even have respect for myself. Not having respect for myself enabled me to cause hurt, in this case harm, to somebody I didn't even know. I put so much energy into my negative ways and didn't gain anything from it. Every time I put myself in trouble, I realized I wasn't the only one being penalized for my actions, making me aware of the importance of my actions. Not knowing previously how important my actions were caused me to destroy things I can't fix. After I was sentenced, I went through assessment in Walker CI, where I spoke to a counselor who informed me of all the programs I would have to take. I already had locked inside my mind I wasn't going to do any of them. I wandered around aimlessly, putting myself through the most, not realizing how much it affected the ones that loved and cared about me. I never blamed myself or my environment for anything I put myself through. I always blamed myself, and it made things easier because it was true. But when I realized I was to be blamed for what so many people are going through, just the awareness constructed my own inner abyss. And I realized how much I cared about how I made people feel. It didn't happen overnight, but I developed a respect for other individuals' views while staying away from negative conversations. Naturally, this caused me to break off relationship with some of my closest friends, opening my eyes to the fact that the only things we had in common was time spent and being from the same area, something none of us was in control of from the beginning. I wanted better. At first, I felt guilty for wanting better for myself, but I soon accepted it as growth, and I felt there was nothing wrong with me caring for myself. Caring for myself came with a different angle of acknowledgement. I had to acknowledge my wrongs and fully accept myself. I thought I'd been caring for myself, but I had allowed my wrongs to take responsibility over me rather than me taking responsibility for my wrongs. Me taking full responsibility allowed me to place myself in a position of forgiving myself. I couldn't forgive myself until I accepted myself with no excuses. And I still didn't get the full effects of forgiving myself until I forgave the individual that killed one of my closest friends. Noticing I'm no different, and he has the same potential to see things the same way I see them now. I did to somebody's mother what he did to my friend's mother, and I hear it in her voice when I talk to her, and I feel like I'm the reason because I am. I'm the problem and the solution. I understand what the youth are going through, and I understand their mindsets. My actions influence a lot of young men to become the way they became because they looked up to me when I wasn't in a position of being a leader, making these acts justifiable to them. One thing I understand is that when you idolize somebody and genuinely have love for them, they can't do wrong in your eyes. They conquer certain fears with what you see them go through, making the things they do justifiable and acceptable, making it all right to do the same and accepting the same types of consequences. This is how I corrupted my community. I hear about young men's lives going down the drain, committing acts I've done from selling drugs to being involved in gun violence. Some of them even died and they looked at me like a big brother. I've been going over a decade, but my footprints are still fresh in the hearts and minds of a lot of individuals. They still see me as I was, and I'm sorry for that. I felt pain, I gave pain, I'm a constant reminder of the pain I caused. Me and my cousin, also my best friend, lost his little brother to the same act of violence I used to condone. When I spoke to my cousin, I told him as much as it hurts, it wouldn't be right to do to somebody else what was done to us. The whole world is hurting. We're not the only ones going through it. We lost him, but we still have more to lose. My cousin appreciated what I had to say, and that showed my influence is still strong. If I could help with words, the only thing left to do is live through them. The way I move will be my best example. Coming from being 15, 16 years old, doing things I wasn't allowed to do, like smoking weed, selling drugs, and dropping out of school in the beginning of my 10th grade year, my future wasn't further than my surroundings. Me and my mother eventually came to the agreement which led me to attend job corps where I obtained my GED, but was soon displaced because of my behavior. I went back to my same routine, smoking weed and selling drugs, crack cocaine specifically, putting a limit on my opportunities. Growing up in Bridgeport, where most individuals seem to be confined to the area they reside, was a form of segregation, where school districts determine which schools you're allowed to go to based off your address, where it seems as if police officers assigned to certain sections harass individuals that aren't from there, but they know the territory issues, so they're just trying to prevent violence from happening. And where you're not looked at as an individual, people only see you for where you're from. I view people in the same way. Something that stemmed from fist fights between my group of friends from the Hollow section and another group of friends from the East Side led me to let up the sense of shootings. My mother would often call my phone to see if I was all right whenever she heard gunshots. These shootings led up to Gary passing away. It was a chain of events that led up to this tragedy. Me and my group of friends would often get into situations with other areas, but the tension between my group of friends and the East Side was different. Unfortunately, a young kid from the East Side area lost his life in the year 2012. The feud between me and my group of friends and their group of friends led people to believe we had something to do with it. My cousin who lived on the East Side, originally from the Hollow, was shot soon after while in his house due to his house being shot up. Not knowing who did it, but due to the previous series of events and the location led me to assume people from the East Side did it, leading me to dislike people from the East Side more. Gun violence was common, but when it came to beef, I was used to fighting. Sometimes we got jumped, sometimes we jumped them, and sometimes we would have brawls where all of us was fighting. This was the only violence I was involved in. I wasn't into having guns around me, but things changed when me and a friend of mine were walking on Hero Ave towards the Charles Green's housing project, located in the hollow, when the car pulled up and the individual got out of the car and chased us while shooting at us. Bullets whizzed by my head as we ran. When me and my friend made it to the lobby, we checked each other to see if we were hit. Thankfully, we weren't. That same week, I spent $700 on 2 guns, one for me and one for any of my friends that needed it. From that day forward, I always had access to a gun. On July 21st, 2012, 12 days before I played a role in Gary's death, me and a group of friends went to a party located on the east side. After the party, we went to our friend's house located on Brook Street, also on the east side. We all sat on the porch playing around, laughing and joking, having a good time when we heard gunshots. I heard my younger friend yell he was shot as some of us laid down to duck the bullets and some tried to make it through the doorway. When the shot stopped, I heard a girl crying because she was also shot. Then I saw my friend's younger cousin who I also knew for most of her life laying in the doorway with blood coming from her head. The next day she passed away. Mixed emotions clouded my decision making and I just wanted to hurt somebody. August 2nd, 2012, me and a group of friends would smoke weed in Charles Green's housing project when a group of kids rolled up on bikes telling us how they were on the east side when somebody showed them a gun, yelling at them to go back to the Greens. A friend of mine yelled at his little brother for being over there in the first place. I asked where they was at and who did they see. I was angry at the fact somebody threatened these young boys with a gun, considering I looked at them as little brothers off the strength that I knew most of them since they were babies. On top of that, I just seen this young girl's life taken. The young boys told me the dude that had the gun had braids and he was with another dude that had braids and another dude that had on a red shirt. And there was more people on the corner of Jane and Pembroke. I've been carrying my gun more often since the event that occurred the night of the party, so this specific day I had it on me. At the time, 2 friends of mine sat in a gray van. I climbed in the backseat and told the driver to bring me to Jane and Pembroke without telling him why. When we got to the corner of Jane and Pembroke, there wasn't anybody around, so I told the driver to keep driving as I looked around to see if I seen anybody else into it with from the area. When we were driving down Hallett, I saw an individual with braids walking with another individual with a red shirt on, so I instructed the driver to turn around and go back down Ogden Street. When we were on the side of 2 individuals, I aimed my gun out the window and started shooting in their direction. The individual with the braids fell and the individual with the red shirt continued to run across an empty lot, and I continued shooting in his direction. Later on, I found out the victim's name was Gary, and I never heard of him prior to the incident. I never had a problem with him. He was just as innocent as Kiara, the girl I seen bleeding from her head 12 days before. At the moment, I didn't give my actions much thought. For years, I was like this before I came to realize it wasn't conflicts that put people through the worst, but it's the way people react to those conflicts. These reactions destroy more people around the people, more people than the people that's actually involved. I can't prevent conflicts, but I can gain a different form of stability by how I react. I put myself in every situation I've ever been in and allowed myself to stay in those situations because of the ways I reacted. I completed programs that gave me different viewpoints and strategies on how to react during and after negative situations. Voices helped me put myself in the victim's shoes and show me there's never just one victim. Countless people feel it and are affected by events when something bad happens to one person. Anger management is literally in the name itself because getting angry is inevitable, but it's all about how it's managed when it surfaces. People empowering people gave me a different level of self-esteem, and I reached a point where I know I'm better than the worst things I've done and went through. At the same time, I'm no better than anybody, and there's nobody better than me alleviating my reasons to complain. We read a book during the course of me taking this program called Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl, a Holocaust survivor who had every right to be upset, to place blame, to break, and to just give up, but he didn't. Also around this time, on my own time, I was reading the story of a boy soldier, A Long Way Gone by Ishmael Beck, about a young boy who lost his whole family, but was able to survive throughout the 1994 wars of Rwanda. When I finished these books, all I could think is if I had experienced what they had to go through, I would hope I had the same strength. Alternative to Violence program helped me understand how unique and alike most individuals are by the way group discussions were held. But what I gained out of all these programs was a different form of socialism. I usually say to myself, and these groups allow me to enter into the worlds of other individuals to help me accept people into my space. I feel like these programs are needed in my community and communities like my community. They would be more effective if we grew up taking these courses rather than having them do them after the damage was done. I feel like these programs should be mandatory in our schools. We go to school learning and taking certain courses serious that we may never utilize, but these programs are introductions to life where kids can find comfort and feel in any type of way, but learn to make decisions based off intellect, not emotion. These programs help me interact with individuals I couldn't imagine acknowledging just based off what part of Bridgeport they was from. Now I have genuine relationships with individuals from every side of town. We sometimes have more in common than the people I grew up with, and even the individuals I haven't gained a relationship with, we developed a respect that allows us to see each other as the men we became over the boys we were. If given the opportunity of release, I take pride in steering young individuals in the right direction. I was everything they don't want to be, I've been where they don't want to go, and I know I have the potential to be what they wouldn't mind becoming. This is how I will give back to my community. I understand the obstacles I will face upon me re-entering society, so the resources and restraint of a halfway house will be suitable and necessary. A close friend of mine named Hank Palmer, released on parole in 2021, and had informed me on a program called Project Longevity. Through this program, he obtained his CDLs, a full-time job, his own apartment, and became a better father figure to his son. Also, my close friend Christopher Belcher has been a manager at a restaurant for some time, and I know he can give me a position of employment. He has his own apartment and recently just started his family. And he has gained this form of stability with the resources that came with a halfway house. I also have relatives and friends from within my community that support me well. I will utilize these resources to become a certified carpenter, manage my finances, and soon become a homeowner. This isn't only self-preservation, but it's the best way of being an example, and the best way I can help is by preventing someone else, specifically young individuals, from making the same detour. To live with many wrong decisions made is what I'll have to live with for the rest of my life. Tyler Vaughn seen his close friend pass away in front of him and suffer from a bullet wound that came from me. I understand if you never forgive me, but I'm sorry. I never heard anything bad about Gary, and I regret the actions of my past self. If I could take all the hurt back that I caused, I would. To Gary's grandparents, aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, and cousins, whether the relationships was close or distant, he was important. I'm sorry to break any bond that was built and preventing the bonds that could never no longer be established. To Gary's siblings, I wish I could apologize to all of you individually, whether it's accepted or not. I don't know how I would feel or how my mindset would be if I was to lose any of my brothers. And just the thought brings pain. But all I could genuinely say is I'm sorry. To Gary's father, who asked me, as my citizen, why did I do this to his son? To answer your question, the loss of your son was due to the fact I was in a senseless beef with individuals from the east side, and he wasn't in the wrong place at the wrong time. I was never supposed to be doing the things I used to be doing in the first place. I was the only wrong piece of this scenario. He never did anything to me. As much as I regret it, all I could truthfully say is I'm sorry. And to Gary's mother, I could never understand your loss, even if I was to have a son of my own and lose him in the same way. I still wouldn't understand. I lost friends, and I speak to the mother of one of my closest friends whenever I get a chance, that passed away due to the same act of violence I used to condone. And I can't describe the energy of a woman who tries to stay strong through something she can't take. And my same actions are to blame. I would never tell her to forgive the individual that caused this pain out of respect, and she must do that on her own time. So I would like to let you know I didn't come here to disrespect you and ask for your forgiveness and acceptance, but I just came here to truthfully say, I'm sorry. And this is, I know this would never be enough. Thank you. I'm finished.
Thank you, Mr. Brody, for your statement. You certainly covered a lot of information. In addition, this panel has reviewed your case from the time of the arrest through your incarceration, and we received a packet from your attorney as well that we've reviewed. So we do have some questions for you. When we're done with our questions, we'll turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services for input. And then your attorney and the state's attorney will also have the opportunity to speak before we deliberate and make our decision. Okay?
Yeah.
We'll begin with my colleague, Ms. Page. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brody, you did a very good job with that statement.
And as the chair pointed out, you did cover quite a bit of ground. And your attorney's package was very well put together as well. We received, it was a bunch of information. One of the things in that packet that stood out to me is when they questioned you about your behaviors out in the community, you said that you were out of control.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you absolutely were. So help me understand the way that this all went. So you committed this manslaughter, right, in August.
Yes, ma'am.
And what happened with that? When they arrested you, when were you arrested?
I was arrested in October on unrelated charges, but I eventually was served a warrant in December.
Okay.
I don't remember the specific day.
So when you committed this murder in August, and I heard you say in your opening statement, you said, I would like to say that these are all excuses, but that there were no, it was something along those lines, but there's no excuses for your actions. You knew what you were doing.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
So in August, you knew that you killed this victim. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you still went on to October to commit another robbery. Is that right?
Yes.
And then you went on to do another shooting.
Yes.
And so can you explain to us what really was going on, that even after knowing that you'd taken a life, that you would still put someone else's life in jeopardy?
Honestly, like, I can't validate nothing I did because it's literally like impossible to validate that. But the way my mindset was back then, you know what I'm saying? Like, when you out there and you a part of that environment, stuff like that, and you moving so fast, you don't got time to really analyze your steps. I really honestly, miss, with all the respect, honestly, when I was home, I didn't care. I didn't care about anything.
Yeah.
I didn't, you know what I'm saying? I didn't care about anything. And I thought, like, even like, I don't really want to incorporate my grandmother because I love her so much, but I didn't even express my love to her because the way I handle my own life. You feel what I'm saying? I really didn't care about anything. Like, I would, like, if you would ask me back then who I cared about the most, I'll probably say my grandmother. But really, I didn't show that because the way I was handling my life, the predicaments I put myself in, the way I was running around, I can't say like I was ignorant, but that was part of it. But I knew what I was doing. You feel what I'm saying? I it's really nothing really I could say. I just was out of control, like you said.
You did. You absolutely were a menace while
Yeah.
you were in society. Were you involved in any gang activity? Because I noticed that on your rap sheet, it said gang something or other on here.
The green hollow place, yeah.
I never. Oh, sorry for cutting you off, but
Oh, you didn't cut me off. Go ahead.
no, I never was involved in any type of like gang activity, but they categorize it with gang activity because like the section of Bridge where I'm from, the Hollow, is considered like the Greens boys or the GBs and stuff like that. So they categorize me with that. So that's the gang activity I was affiliated with. Yeah.
Okay. So did you ever admit prior to your being charged with the warrant that you killed this victim?
No.
And go ahead.
No. Oh, to to the officers?
Yes.
No, I never gave a statement. Initially, I never gave a statement. I just was served the warrant. This is like my first time really like admitting my wrong, admitting like the involvement I had in this case. Yeah.
It's all so unfortunate. Like, I mean, the first case, your very first offense where you take this young man's life, you turn around and then it's almost like you were bullied almost. because you bullied the guy to give you his cell phone and $35, right?
Yeah, that's how the robbery went. Yeah.
And then, go ahead.
Because like I had this twisted perspective that I was living in my own world, man. I was living in my own world, and at the time, like me thinking that, oh, this is my hood, you feel me? And I see an individual that's not from my hood, you feel me? I'm like,
unfortunately, I know
'cause I
that
didn't-
all too well.
yeah, you feel me? Because like I obviously didn't need the money because I sold drugs, but I literally just was on some. Like you said, I bullied him. I took his belongings and just told him going about his business. Yeah,
Wow.
something I wouldn't do now, but
Just as you said, you didn't care about anything. Even if it would have come down to you losing your own life, that
yeah, I
probably
didn't
didn't
care.
matter to you either.
Didn't matter.
Today, do you value your life?
Huh?
Today, do you
Of
value?
of course, I value my life.
And what
Yes,
do you
ma'am.
think that you have to add to society?
Honestly, it's a lot of young kids out there that got the same mentality I had, and I understand them, and I understand the mindset of how young individuals, because it's a lot of activists that try to talk to young individuals, but it's the same problem is still so prevalent. You feel what I'm saying?
So how do you think you're going to make a difference? If
Me-
the kid your age didn't listen, how can you get them to listen?
And it's the thing. The first thing activists should do with me and stuff, me and some of my friends, they'll use a lot of them big words. They'll talk to them. Kids is affectionate. See, sometimes you gotta use certain slang. Sometimes you gotta do certain stuff to really build a bond. Before anything, you gotta build a bond with somebody that's gonna really listen to you. See, back then, activists come through, they just try to speak these big, intelligent words and stuff. We young kids in the streets, we don't wanna hear none of that. But if I walk up to you and meet people knowing my background and stuff like that, how unfortunate it is, you know what I'm saying? Them young dudes will listen more to what I say, and even whether they take heed or not, you know what I'm saying? I know whether they end up in my predicament or hopefully, you know what I'm saying, something better, but they will see my vision and they'll understand, and whether they end up in this predicament, they always could be able to reach out to me for support.
Yeah.
Simple. It's just as simple as that.
Well, it sounds simple, but if that were true, there wouldn't be so much, gun activity and violence out in the communities today. There's several people out there who have been in situations just as you. It really does boil down to whether or not you want the help, or whether or not you want to change.
Mm-hmm.
It's a choice every single day. That's a choice that we make. It sounds as if you had some good, your family, your grandmother was there for you. She really tried to steer you differently. But sometimes, what's that saying about a hard head makes a soft behind kind of thing?
Yeah.
You ever heard that?
I've been hearing that my whole life, man.
Okay, well, it's kind of true. So let's move forward. Let's move on. So you're in here. You're taking a ton of programs. Now you've been down since April, and then was this an outside charge that you received for this assault on safety personnel?
Yes, ma'am.
And tell us about that.
Oh, the outside charge?
Yeah, because I read it said that you got into an argument. You were arguing.
Yeah, I had gotten into this when I was fresh out of I was 18. I was 18 when I got into a physical altercation with a CO guard.
Now tell me why you do that.
At the time, I felt like the only thing that resort to get my way is violence. And I felt like the officer was disrespecting me. He had confiscated some big headphones that I had, and I had the receipt, and he still was playing around with me like he never was gonna give them back. And I know I purchased them and it was on my matrix and everything, but to my back then the way I looked at it was, you could have the headphones, and it just went to violence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you
Yep.
know that you have a total of 19 disciplinary infractions for overall this period of incarceration?
Yes, ma'am. I'm
And do
aware-
you know that of those 19, 12 of them involve violence?
Yes, ma'am.
So, and your last disciplinary infraction was in 2020, and it was for a fight. But something that I read in your file said that you met a lifer somewhere along the line, and he
Indeed.
began to mentor you. What year was that?
That was in this was before I was taking heed to certain things that he was saying, but this was 2016 in Cheshire.
And so would you say that would be around the time that things actually clicked for you?
I would say that opened my eyes to a lot of things because it was this man that and he must have seen something in me that I didn't at the time, but it was this dude that I really felt like I didn't have anything in common with, but at the same time our charges were so similar. But at the moment our mind frames were so different, and he used to talk about real estate. He used to use these big words. I used to have to tell him, yo, dumb it down, because I couldn't understand what he was saying. And I used to really have these good conversations with him. Like, you got young dudes that I used to always always like be a part of and stuff, chill with. Like, they'd be like, gee, man, why you always talking to the old dude? Da, da, da. But I used to enjoy talking to him and stuff like that. And that was the first dude. That was one of the first dudes I really like. He opened my eyes to the fact that I'm like, yo, this dude got close to 200 years. And I said, yo, if he was to go home, yo, that's one dude I know he'll never come back to jail. That's one dude. And I used to, and that used to make me cherish the time that I had, because it's dudes like him that would give anything to have the time I got. But he won't, you know what I'm saying?
I do. But it's unfortunate that it took you 4 years or so to really kind of meet that person that would make a difference in your life. You know, it took you a little time to get it, you know?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, there's so many losses along the way. But, you know, I appreciated your opening statement. It really, I believe that you were sincere in your remorse for your actions. And I really do believe that you think differently now, that you really had to figure out that life is precious. And, you know, and I may have been a bad person, but I don't have to continue being that person. I may have been reckless, but it's up to me to decide who I am tomorrow. And so I appreciate your working on yourself since you've been in there. And I know it hasn't been easy. And I'm not saying that there isn't more work to do, but I'm saying that you're taking the steps, you're moving in the right direction to try to turn this negative thing into something positive. Kudos to you, regardless of what happens here today. I just want you to know that you should continue. You know, we're all going to have everyone has an opinion about everyone, you know, that doesn't make it true. And you don't have to listen to those things. You can prove yourself by your actions. And your actions are showing that you're trying to do better. So I appreciate your conversation with me, Madam Chair. I also appreciate the opportunity to speak with him. Good luck to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Pohl.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a couple of comments, really. I appreciated the psych eval that was submitted and the insight that it gave into your past and you and where you're headed. It's really important when we get information like that. And as well, there were a number of positive letters that were submitted with your package today. And of note, really, you know, planning to be involved in reentry services. You know, you talked about one service. Also, your application talked about is it Project Fresh Start?
Project Longevity. Fresh Start? Yeah, Fresh Start.
Fresh Start. Okay, so it's the same program, it's just has a couple of different names here. And I just, I appreciate your presentation and the answers to, Board Member Page's questions. And, I don't have anything further.
Thank you. Mr. Brody, you know, in our files today, I had to keep reading them over and over and over because they're all intertwined.
Yes.
And I was like confusing my you know, Joseph Humphrey?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. So he was a friend of yours out in the community?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So he ended up killing the person that you actually intended to kill, right?
That's what I heard. Yeah.
It's amazing. It's unbelievable. All these cases.
They are.
You know, Mr. Williams, Jaquan,
Yes, ma'am.
Jaquan Williams, you guys were hanging out committing crimes together too, right?
He's my co-defendant on one of my cases.
Right. And he was also involved in the killing of the person who was your intended target. It's so crazy. So many people were involved and so many lives destroyed.
Right.
And
For nothing.
exactly, for nonsense. And because these two were wearing red shirts, they end up being victims.
Indeed. Yes, ma'am.
It's the whole thing is just unbelievable.
Really.
I hear the change in you. If I'm being perfectly honest, I see the growth.
Yep.
I hear the change. I appreciate your openness and your honesty here
Yep.
today. You know, you're very lucky that 9-year-old girl who was totally unrelated, innocent child just existing didn't die, you know? Right, she got hit in the face, but it's just so much tragedy. It's a lot to wrap your head around. And the gun that you used was used again later in another shooting, right?
That's what they said, but I wasn't involved in that shooting.
I understand, but
Yeah.
who did you
But
give the
that's-
gun to? You gave the gun
but-
to somebody else afterwards, and then they shot somebody?
Honestly, I threw the gun away. I just tossed it somewhere, but where I tossed it at, anybody could have found it. That's how careless. Yeah, that's so. It's just that's how easy it is to just get guns, and it's just.
But then there's this ripple effect, right? If you had never left that gun somewhere, they couldn't have shot somebody.
Indeed.
Yeah. Yeah. I certainly hope that you're sincere in your desire to want to change things out in the community and give back, because you sure took a lot.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So it really is, it's your job now to do well in life and to give back and to try to help prevent as many of these situations as possible. I read about another one of your co-defendants who is really not doing well right now. I mean, you know, not everybody turns it around, but you have to be prepared to let go of whatever you were involved with, whoever you were involved with, no matter who it is. I don't care if it's your brother, you know, like in order to get out there and do it right. I was a little concerned, sir, that most of your supports are in Bridgeport, and Bridgeport's a high risk for you, right? You admitted that yourself. So how does that work?
That's why I would that's why, like, if I was given any opportunity, I would like to be placed as far away from Bridgeport as possible. Honestly.
Okay, but then how do you participate in programs that are based in Bridgeport?
Nah, through the resources of like whatever halfway house or whatever.
Yeah.
I understand they be having like similar, identical names, like different names, but they do the same things in different parts and stuff like that. And I know like one thing about me, I've been accustomed with being away for so long that I know I'm gonna need some type of help and some type of like therapy and stuff like that. But I could like, I'm all right with being away from people. You know what I'm saying? I'm all right with just being, cause like I got family home and stuff like that. And that's gonna be one of my biggest factors, like high risk factors is gonna be like bumping into like my family members, old friends, because it's either gonna make our bond or it's gonna break our bond because of the type of person I am. And it's people that I got genuine love for that I wouldn't mind seeing again, but I know to better myself, I'm gonna have to stay away from them, no matter what type of our relationship it is.
Okay, all right, but the program that you spoke of is specifically based in Bridgeport, so I wanted to clarify
Yeah.
that. I'm sure they can refer you to other programs in different areas of the state. One thing I'm not clear about, were you the only shooter or were your co-defendants shooters too?
Me, miss, I took full responsibility for, I was the only shooter.
How many
I
guns
wa-
did you have?
I had 2 guns,
What were they?
40 and 380.
You were shooting 2 guns out the window.
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
I stuck the guns out the back window and I started shooting.
You had 2 guns,
Yeah,
1 in each hand,
yeah,
and you were shooting both of the guns.
yes.
Did anybody else in the car have a gun?
Not to my knowledge, as you can see, in the police report, both of the guns were under my seat.
Yeah. So nobody else shot weapons from that car.
That's why I went to the hearing and then I tried to take responsibility.
I don't think you answered my question. Did anybody else in the car fire weapons out at the victim?
No,
That is interesting. Okay. So why then would you allow 4 other people to go to prison for something that you did? I'm sure you're aware there were 2 guns being shot.
Yes,
at the
ma'am.
victim. So who had the other gun?
Mr. Humphrey.
Okay. So you were both shooting out the windows.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, but you're certain that you shot the victim?
Yes, ma'am.
Huh. So why is it that no one has ever, I mean, we still have 2 different versions because, according to your co-defendant, he shot both guns. Well, then I guess you also got your co-defendants in a bit of a pickle too, although they were part of the planning, so I guess they were just as responsible. Man, it is a lot. I had similar concerns to my colleague in that after you took someone's life, that wasn't enough for you to stop with the behaviors. It's very clear you just did not care. Is all of your family still in Bridgeport?
Majority of them,
Has there been any retaliation or issues as a result of your offenses?
not that I know of.
Okay. All right. Thank you for answering our questions. At this time, we're going to turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services for input. Ms. Vasquez, thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and board members. I have one of the victim's parents on the phone, and he would like to address the board. Mr. Pendergrass, this is your opportunity to address the board and just only the board. Please go ahead.
My name is Mr. Prendergast, and I'm Gary's father, and that pain still lingers on. But all what that kid has said, all that is a bunch of bull. They have got words to con the system to come out in the public. After I take my son's life, he don't deserve to come out no time soon. He deserves to do a few more years. And it's hard to live without one child, although you have a lot, still hard. He lost his brothers lost him, he has 3 sisters. He's still missed by aunts, cousins, friends. He's still missed, so I don't believe nothing come out of his mouth. He can say anything to con, because I think conning is his way away. He can con, so long as he can get what he wants, he will keep on talk what he know people want to hear. There ain't nothing for me to talk for people want to hear more than I lost my son, and it still hurt. Because he was the last one. It still hurt. I won't see I didn't get to see him graduate at high school. I didn't see him start a family because he cut him short. There is no way, there is no sympathy for a person that take another human life. Another human life is not you to decide how long that person should live. You don't have no right. Jah the Almighty have that right. How long you're supposed to live. So what he's saying, it don't make no sense to me. It can make sense to all you lawmakers there, but it don't make none to me. I don't like it. Because he can say, Tom Dick, just to get out, because look, he was driving around that day and he see my son and his friend going to the store. One block, just steps away from the corner store is his house. And if he going around and see him in a red shirt, red ain't got nothing to do with nothing. You wear any colors. Just if he see a grown man in a red shirt, he would have think, so well then, I got to kill that man because he got on a red shirt. That's bull. That's a set of crap. So if we all agree, I totally disagree. We need more time to realize what he have done and all the life he ruined in that. Thank you all very much, and all have a blessed day.
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thank you, Madam Chair and board members. This is all I have for today. Thank you.
At this time, the attorneys will be afforded the opportunity to make a statement. We will now turn it over to the state's attorney. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes, please. Thank you. As the board has already correctly pointed out, this case was intimately intertwined with a case that had been before the board previously. Mr. Brody and his friends from Green Homes became convinced that Mr. Nalawazi had killed a woman named Nunu Robinson. And this was an attempt that that group made to avenge that death by attempting to kill Mr. Nalawazi, but Mr. Brody went over to the east side and just shot the first person he saw with a red shirt, who was not Mr. Nalawazi. I believe another person was also shot there, Mr. Vaughn. Later on, as the board knows from earlier today, another group of Mr. Brody's friends did ultimately wind up killing Mr. Nalawazi. Just so much violence and so much loss came out of this because of a belief that Mr. Nalawazi had done something. Just senseless. And what troubles me about Mr. Brody today is he is here in front of this board and saying all the right things, accepting responsibility, but he has two separate tracks attempting to get out of jail. So he has this track where he's in front of the board of parole, admitting his responsibility. But at the same time, concurrently, on April 8th, he filed his amended petition for habeas relief in Rockville, in which just the opposite is occurring. And he is asserting he didn't do this and that he received ineffective assistance of counsel and that he should have went to trial. So the question then becomes, which is true? Both of those things are mutually exclusive. So it seems to me as though Mr. Brody in one form is saying I didn't do it, and in another form is here accepting responsibility. I find that troubling, and I find that is inconsistent. So there are inconsistent statements of what he's saying here today, which causes me to think perhaps there isn't change. Perhaps this is just saying what he needs to say to be released from prison. So I think that is something that this board should consider in rendering its decision today. And I thank you for your time.
Well, let's ask Mr. Brody, what is your habeas petition about?
Miss, honestly, I filed my habeas before I even had this train of thought. I filed it in 2019. I filed my habeas in 2019, and honestly, I've been planning on getting out of it, but my habeas attorney be wanting to go through with it. You know what I'm saying? I've been like, yo, man, I'm done with this case. I'm done with it. I'm going
to interrupt you. What is the basis of your habeas petition?
The basis of it is, I don't even, honestly, I just filed it. What is it? I don't even know. Honestly, like I know I filed for I think a legal to correct motion to correct legal sentence. I just filed anything because I was trying initially to get all my paperwork, which they won't give to me. You know what I'm saying? But honestly, I was trying to get out of this case for a while.
Well, what were you at? I mean, obviously you wanted something from the habeas.
Say that one more time, man.
I mean, obviously you were seeking relief or you wouldn't have filed a habeas petition.
Yeah.
2019? Does your attorney have a copy of that? We don't have that.
No, we don't have a copy of that, but I told you back then I did not take full accountability of any of my actions. I still was fighting my case.
Well, that was, you say 5 years ago? Attorney DeJoseph, do you have any of that information?
So may I have a moment?
Yeah.
So Mr. Brody filed his pro se petition, it looks like in 2018.
18.
His attorney on his behalf filed an amended petition for habeas relief on 4/8 of 24. The relief he is seeking is to vacate the judgment, be released from confinement, and send the cases back to the judicial district.
Do you see all that too?
No, I don't see, I just see the private started. But what he's saying is that his attorney, he told his attorney he didn't want to pursue it any further, but he's still doing it.
Let me just say that.
So that's still pending.
He has another court date coming up next year.
I can address this briefly if the board would like to hear from me as well about this specific issue prior to my statement.
Sure. Yeah.
Mr. Brody and I have discussed this at length because I came to the realization when I began representing him that there was a habeas pending. At one point, I believe it was in 2017 or 2018, Mr. Brody had filed a pro se habeas petition. My understanding is that upon filing that, the public defender's office will make efforts to represent that individual moving forward. I have not had contact with the habeas attorney, although I have made efforts. I will share with the board that we have discussed this on multiple occasions, and Mr. Brody has indicated to me on each of those occasions that he has no desire to move forward with the habeas petition, and he has expressed that to his attorney as well.
So why would an attorney, I'll ask both you and the state's attorney, why would an attorney amend a petition a month ago instead of withdrawing it?
Miss, honestly, I didn't know nothing about it, Miss.
I believe that Mr. Brody is being genuine when he says that he does not have any awareness of that. He hasn't had contact with that attorney, and neither have I.
Miss, I went years without contact with these habeas people. My fault for speaking.
All right.
Does Attorney DeJoseph want to add?
Oh, yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry, Attorney DeJoseph.
I'm not sure how what Mr. Brody says can be true because he received a scheduling order in February of 24. So how can we say I haven't had contact with years? I told my attorney to withdraw it when February 21st of 24, there's a scheduling order that's entered by the judge. This can't be true.
I mean, I haven't spoken to them. That's really what I meant. Excuse me.
Let his attorney speak now. Okay.
I'll turn it over to the public defender if you wish to proceed.
Yes, thank you. Good afternoon, board members. Thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of parole applicant Kyle Brody today. As an attorney with the Connecticut Division of Public Defender Services, I have been afforded the opportunity and the privilege to represent individuals charged with a crime and facing a period of incarceration. Most, if not all of my clients are adults. Most, if not all of my clients are older than I am. Mr. Brody and I are the same age. Mr. Brody has been charged and convicted with serious crimes and sentenced to a substantial period of incarceration, 20 years. The experience of representing Mr. Brody as a parole applicant has been educational in a career sense as well as in my personal life. It has informed my practice of law and given me insights into the way in which I proceed throughout society. As I indicated, as I sat down to meet with Mr. Brody for the first time, we realized that we're the same age. Given that we can share many similar observations about the world, we share pop culture references, we have a similar perspective in the way in which the world in which we were brought up in. And I could feel that connection with him immediately, that we had these things in common. We would like to read the same books and we have similar activities that we like to engage in. But as I continued to sit with Mr. Brody, as I did identify all of these similarities that we felt, the chasm of difference between us was also palpable. And I would leave the facility and try to gain insight into that and the difference that I felt between us. As I continued to reflect on that, it became clear to me that the really only difference between Mr. Brody and I is privilege. And not privilege in a superficial sense or the means in which we were raised. There's clearly socioeconomic differences, racial differences, which contribute to specific privilege, which I may experience, but also just the privilege of support. I was able to identify that the mistakes that I have made in my life as a young person, every time I made that mistake, there was always a person in my community, whether it was a family member or a close friend or a teacher or a coach, who told me that I was going to be able to make it through that mistake. Any obstacle that I ever faced, I was constantly told that I was going to be able to overcome that obstacle. I think it instilled in me a sense of confidence and an ability to engage and become the person that I am today. That's an experience that, frankly, Mr. Brody does not have. I think it's reflected in Dr. Lopez's report, as well as Ms. Fonzo's report and my own report. As Mr. Brody was raised in the Bridgeport area, he struggled with symptoms of ADHD, impulsivity, and emotional dysregulation throughout his childhood. He had behavioral issues, but was unable to gain the support to address those issues. He was exposed from a very early age to violence and other criminal behavior from male role models to him. The people who were placed in his life to teach him what it means to operate successfully in society were the same people who taught him the criminal behavior that he did engage in, the conflict resolution skills that he could have gained were instead met with resolving conflict, frankly, through violence. And that is the means in which Mr. Brody operated in the world for much of his childhood through adolescence and when he became incarcerated. I think Mr. Brody will be the first person to say, in fact, he has said it to me, and I believe he may have said it in his speech, that this period of incarceration was necessary for him. He would not have been able to change his life if he did not become incarcerated. Upon becoming incarcerated, he did struggle for quite a bit, and I think that's reflective of his adolescence and his continued behavior that he learned prior to becoming incarcerated. But there were people who became involved in his life, like those people who I had all along, who were a positive influence on him. The members of the board noted the male lifer at Cheshire, who had a marked impact on Mr. Brody. He also began to engage in a substantial amount of programming at Gardner Correctional Institution. It's also there that he met a woman who was a volunteer She was able to have lengthy conversations with Mr. Brody about the means in which he could regulate his emotions, the means in which he could engage in conflict resolution. And I think as I speak with Mr. Brody every time I visit with him, he has such a changed perspective of the world, and it's a very involved and enlightened perspective. I find myself catching myself sometimes, well, it's a really good way to think about something, Kyle. He understands that there is alternative means to deal with people who may be different from you. And I think that's through all of the programming that he has done, that is through all of the hard work and substantial effort that he has made to better himself as an individual. And I think that's also partially due to the amount of time that has passed. Mr. Brody was 17 years old when he became incarcerated. It has been 12 years, and he has been able to gain maturity that just comes with your age. Certainly, as I indicated before, the privilege that I have, it allowed me to come at growth and maturity, I think a bit of a step forward. Mr. Brody has had to come at growth and maturity from a bit of a step behind. And so maybe, and I think he understands this, he has to make efforts and he has to put a little bit more in than maybe all of us would. Maybe I would, and the members of the board and everyone else who's present here today. He's going to need to come at this from the fact that it's going to be a lot of hard work, and he's going to have to put in a lot more effort than I would and anyone else would at being a mature, productive, insightful member of society who does not engage in criminal behavior. I think getting to know Mr. Brody over this period of time, that he has the skills to do that. He also has made efforts to gain skills which would be applicable to employment. I know that he is very, he anticipates very much that he would like to gain employment upon his release and be able to support himself. Today is my child's birthday, and I think back on the time when I became a very young mother, and if I had been in Mr. Brody's position, I wouldn't be who I am today. I was immediately met with support and love, and everyone told me, you're still going to be able to do everything that you want to do, still go to college, still go to law school. And that privilege that I had, I hope that I can impart some of that on Mr. Brody, and I hope that my representation of him has showed him that he can overcome anything, and that the obstacles that he'll face when he's released from his period of incarceration, that he can face them. Becoming a young mom was a catalyst for change in my life. It motivated me in a way that I had never been motivated before. That's certainly not the same thing as becoming incarcerated at the young age, but I think that this period of incarceration has been a catalyst for Mr. Brody to effectuate positive change in not only his own life, but the lives of other people. I think Mr. Brody travels a very rocky path every single day, and every single day as he is traveling that path, he is attempting to clear it and make it easier for other people to traverse as he goes. And I have no doubt that he will be able to share that insight with similarly situated people if he is released from custody. So for all of those reasons, I am urging the board to consider parole for Mr. Brody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we're going to take a brief recess. We're going to attempt to locate the habeas petition. Okay, so we'll be back shortly. Go ahead.
I can email that to you if you give me an email address. Who would you like me to email it to?
Why don't you give us your email address and we will email you back.
Michael.
Okay, so we're back, and we did have the opportunity to review the amended petition, which I believe we would all agree is absurd. I mean, just say that you had ineffective counsel and he didn't advise you to go to trial. he would have advised you not to go to trial because you got 20 years instead of probably 50 years if you had gone to trial and they ran all of these charges consecutive. So I think you got a pretty good deal, and I'm pretty sure you would agree with that today.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm not sure why it would be amended without your knowledge or approval just last month, but I guess that's something you'll have to take up with your habeas attorney. And, you know, I'm sure you should, especially after today's hearing, you should probably withdraw that petition. Okay, so at this time, we're going to deliberate. The panel's going to go into deliberation. You can listen to our deliberation, and we'll give you our decision shortly.
All right, thank you.
Ms. Page.
So it's a lot. You know, Madam Chair, I really do think that Mr. Brody has made tremendous strides in terms of where he's come from to where he is now. And he certainly has taken the appropriate programming. I appreciated his recognizing that, you know, he had some underlying things going on, and he went through this mind and body and brief recovery to address some of his issues. And he really does sound a lot better today. What is concerning to me is, and I think we addressed them in our questions to Mr. Brody, the fact that he had already taken a life, which is not going to change at this point, but then he went on to create several other victims simply because he didn't care. And all of those were violent in nature. And then you come to prison, and then you get a new charge, and then I have 4 assaults on Department of Corrections, 6 fighting, 1 assault, 1 threat. They're all very, very serious disciplinary infractions. And while I'm happy to see that he's refrained from receiving any additional disciplinary infractions for almost 4 years, I mean, 4 years next month.
Yeah.
I just don't know. Like, he was able to identify what he'd learned in each program. He even admitted that he was wandering aimlessly in the prison for years because just trying to figure out what his next step was.
Right.
Just got a job. It's almost like he just started to be a grown-up.
What's he doing now? What are you doing now in the facility, sir? Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, since I've been housed at this facility, I've been working in the kitchen.
How long have you been working in the kitchen?
For about a month. I don't remember the specific day I got hired.
What'd you do before that?
Before that, I was transferred from Brooklyn, where I was the trash man.
For how long?
I was the trash man that block probably for probably over a year. I don't remember exactly how long.
What'd you do before that?
Before that, I worked in the kitchen for a little while over there. But before that, I was in Gardner, where I worked in the kitchen.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
No, it's okay. Yeah, I just, honestly, I at this point, I'm listening to the victim as well, and I'm happy that he was able to participate and give us what he's had to go through since his son was taken senselessly. But I really don't think that he did all this stuff, or that it's that he's not sincere. Like, I don't think that he's just going through the motions in terms of the programming and the insight that he's gained. And, so I feel I don't have a decision right now. I'm really interested in hearing what you all have to say, because it's a lot on both sides. Like,
Yeah. All right. Mr. Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Brody's 29, and the last DR 2020, 4 years ago, at 25, tracks on Lane people that have a violent past start to change and take responsibility and to do the right thing. He's everything that board member Page has said, that's certainly the case for me. He knows where he is in terms of release. He has put a plan in place. He is connected, although there was good discussion there about exactly where the reentry program is, based upon where he wants to go. He doesn't want to go back to where he had all the problems, which is incredibly important. And I think that Mr. Brody has served since 2012. And based on 1584, I think he qualifies and he is a candidate for parole today.
Thank you. So have we seen some offenders in the same position do more? Of course we have. Yeah, we did actually today, earlier today.
We did.
So we've seen people do more, but sometimes it's a matter of where you're housed, what you can get into. He already had a GED when he came in, and he has been working for whatever reason. Some people choose to work over going to school or getting a trade or what have you. The disciplinary reports have, while they certainly are concerning, and especially 19 of them, they have dropped off, and it appears they dropped off just after the time he filed this silly habeas petition. I heard a lot of insight. I mean,
Yeah, I did.
and given, as you noted, even after taking someone's life, he carried on with and continued this behavior. Given who he was, I don't think he could go 4 years without a disciplinary report unless he had changed. So I do see some growth. I see some change and rehabilitation, and I think he does have a plan, and he does want to get involved in the community, as he should. So in this case, I would be willing to support parole as well. Back to you, Ms. Page.
I mean, I agree. I just grapple with. I do agree. I mean, honestly, the disciplinary infractions are really what had me stumped.
Yeah.
But just listening to him, just some of the things, the notes that I wrote down, like he had to forgive himself. He was very, very insightful, and I don't think I was expecting that. So
yeah, horrible offenses. I mean, the offenses alone would be difficult to overcome, but given his age at the time, that's why we have Public Act 1584 alive here today.
I also want to, acknowledge the victims.
Of course. Yes, certainly. We always appreciate victims' family members coming forward to speak, and we hope that it's also a reminder to offenders, of the tragedy that they caused.
Right. Yeah.
All right.
I would. Yes.
All right. So he's eligible at 12 years, 10-14. We have co-defendants. We have a victim TV, and there's family members of GG. He wants a halfway house. Is there anything else?
I actually have an operation of motor vehicle because of the offense that happened just before.
That was.
If that's something that we want to put, if not, he knows he needs to get a license before.
It's been so long. Yeah, I wouldn't. Yeah, that's fine.
Fine.
All right, let me see. Make sure I get this right.
Would anger management in the community be something that
mean, do we think he has an anger problem anymore? I don't think so. I think if he's gonna get involved with, reentry and, yeah, they'll help him out with that. For initials, do you guys have initials?
I do.
You do, what are they?
He just, the dad is in,
Well,
Two
Mr.
years.
P.
yeah,
What is it?
recipe. And
You just have Mr. P.
Yeah.
SG
SG,
and JG.
and JG are the family of
Yep.
GG, and then TV. Okay. All right, thank you. In the matter of Kyle Brody, inmate number 387113, I'll make a motion to grant parole on or after October 14th, 2024, with the following conditions. You're to have no contact with your co-defendants, Tyson Anderson, Savon Davis, or Tyrell Sims. Was there anybody else? Nope, I got them all. Okay. No contact with your victim initials TB or the family members of victim GG, and they are Mr. P, SG, and JG, and you'll be placed in a halfway house upon release. Second, is there all in favor? Aye. All right, Mr. Brody, do you have any questions? Do you understand?
No, man, thank you, man.
Take advantage of anything and everything that parole and any other reentry resource has to offer. You can only benefit from any and all of it. All right.
Thank you. Yep.
We wish you the best.
All right, thank you. Y'all have a nice day.
Participants.
This
Uh,
concludes the 1584 hearing for Kyle Brody, 38711. It is 1:34 p.m.
And they granted it. And I'm just stunned. To me, it seemed like he was caught in a blatant lie. He has a certain type of, I don't know, negative energy. And look, they granted, and they had a parole hearing for his co-defendant earlier, just a few hours earlier, where they both were saying that they're the shooters. So basically what the parole board is saying is that we don't care about the truth. We don't care that you might be in cahoots. We don't care if you're being dishonest. We'll just grant. Now, the previous parole hearing, they denied, and he's actually come back up for May 2026 hearing. So what we're going to do is we're going to watch the original hearing, and then we're going to go and watch the follow-up hearing. Now, about 40,000 of you have seen that original hearing. So if you've already seen it, feel free to skip ahead to hearing number 2 and the timestamps. But again, what happened was in this case, it's just so senseless. They had a hit out on someone. You know, they're affiliated, right? They were affiliated members. They had a hit on someone. They saw someone walk in a red shirt. They had a mistaken identity. One, they thought he was a Crip, and two, they thought it was a specific person. They kill him. He's not either of those people. Their buddies go and kill the person who they wanted to kill a few weeks ago. And then they all, through the years, all of them are using different stories. How can the parole board member grant someone without knowing the truth? And it's like that sense of justice that you just don't get here. Not to mention, he gives off all the wrong energy. Now, to his credit, it's 2 years later. He is still out on parole. I checked his record before doing this hearing. He hasn't been arrested. He's still under supervision. So, you know, he caught me by surprise because I'm expecting to see him again, frankly. It just doesn't feel right. But anyways, we're going to go jump into that hearing, the one I'm talking about. And you can feel free to skip ahead. We'll get some more, I think, context there. So let's go.
This 1584 hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Joseph Humphrey, who was serving 40 years, executed, suspended after 20 years, followed by 5 years probation for manslaughter first with a firearm. He's also serving 20 years concurrent for conspiracy to commit murder and 5 years concurrent for carrying a pistol without a permit. Total effective sentence is 40 years, executed, suspended after 20 years, followed by 5 years probation. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed anger management, alternatives to violence basic and advanced, 7 challenges, auto body and culinary arts program, TREM, young men's group, micro and macroeconomics, tier 2. He's currently participating in aftercare. He works as a janitor, and he has also received his GED. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score on the RT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Humphrey, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Thank you for your statement, Mr. Humphrey. You covered a lot of ground for us. We have questions for you. Before we ask the questions, I want you to know that this panel has reviewed your case extensively. We have records from police report at the time of the offense and court transcripts through your incarceration, everything you've been doing inside, good and bad. In addition, we have a packet that Attorney Fetterman submitted on your behalf. And so we're very well-versed in your case, but we do have some additional questions. When we're done with our questions, we'll turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services, and then your attorney, and if the state's attorney joins us, the state's attorney will have the opportunity to speak, okay?
Okay.
And for the record, state's attorney Michael DeJoseph has joined us. Good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Humphrey, I do have some questions for you, and they won't be easy. I'm sure you're aware one of your co-defendants has a hearing today as well. I understand you're still friendly there in the facility?
No, me and my co-defendant ain't in the same facility.
Oh, he moved, okay. But you are still friends. Have you encountered him throughout your incarceration?
Wait, which one are you?
Mr. Williams.
Oh, nah, only probably for like a month we was in the same facility, but we wasn't in the same side.
Okay. Would it surprise you to hear that the two of you have different versions of the instant offense? What happened?
Yeah, it would surprise me.
Yeah. So the two of you gave different stories. So why don't you tell us what happened the day of the offense? I mean, we don't need every detail. We're not here to retry the case, but I'd like to hear what happened. We know what led up to this, right? There was a feud because one of your friends was shot and killed, and the victim was friends with, somehow associated with that offense, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So did you and your co-defendants go looking for the victim?
No.
Okay. So tell us how you came upon the victim and what happened.
Because it was Hurricane Sandy, and we stayed a night on that side of town, and it was the hurricane, so the bridges was up. We had to go around. I lived in Stratford, so we was going to Stratford, and on our way to Stratford, we came across them.
You just happened upon the victim. You weren't out driving around looking for him?
No, I wasn't out looking for him.
Okay. So what happened when I mean, you're driving and what happens?
I seen the dudes and my victim and his friends and my brother was driving down the street, but when he turned the corner, when they seen us, he started running up the street. So we was coming like this way, and he was going that way, and we was turning. I was trying to tell my brother to stop, but he wouldn't stop. So the back window was rolled down. So I just moved my seat back, and I just hung out the back window.
Okay. So he was running away from your car in the opposite direction?
Yeah.
Okay. So, what happened when you put your seat back and rolled down the back window?
I stuck the guns out the back window and I started shooting.
You had two guns?
Yeah.
One in each hand?
Yeah.
And you were shooting both of the guns?
Yes.
Did anybody else in the car have a gun?
Not to my knowledge. As you can see, in the police report, both of the guns were under my seat.
Yeah. So nobody else shot weapons from that car?
That's why I went to the hearing, and then I tried to take responsibility.
I don't think you answered my question. Did anybody else in the car fire weapons out at the victim?
No.
That is interesting. Okay. So why then would you allow 4 other people to go to prison for something that you did? And in fact, 2 of them got the same exact sentence as you, not a day less.
At the time, I was a teenager. I wasn't really worried about nobody else, to be completely honest. But that's why I tried to make it right, and I went to the habeas, and one of them got a commutation. I apologize.
His sentence went from 20 years to 16 years. 16 years of his life. And I mean, you did this 11 years later. I just don't understand. Did you all discuss this and everyone agreed, hey, we'll all go to prison for you?
No.
So why didn't any of them give you up?
I can't answer that question, but I tried to make things right. I told whatever they needed me to do, go to court, whatever. I tried.
Right, but that was long after the fact. I mean, their lives were already forever changed. Do you understand the impact that you had on their lives?
Today I understand. Then I didn't understand it. I was angry and I just wasn't ready to hold myself accountable. I just was looking out for myself, to be completely honest. But now, today, I'm trying to make things right. Trying.
And even still, Mr. Williams is going to come in here today and tell us that he shot the victim. It's amazing to me. This blind sense of loyalty, like it's just doesn't make sense. I had some concerns, sir, about your disciplinary reports, and I know it's been 3 years since your last one, but once again, you jump into a fight because a friend of yours was hit. Was this a friend of yours from outside in the community?
It was a friend's younger brother, little brother.
Okay, so you were willing to sacrifice yourself and your freedom to involve yourself in somebody else's fight.
That was it. That was an obstacle that I went through at the moment. Today, I learned from that. I took that as a learning experience. Will I make that same choice? No, I want to make that choice today. I will not make that same choice today.
And you mentioned growing up with your uncles who were basically criminals and bad role models for you. But in 2016, you and your uncle attacked someone who was friends with the victim of the case. Why?
Because I was still young and I still had that mindset that I had to act first before they act on me. Like me and the person that was in that we got into the situation with, I wasn't in that jail for 24 hours and he wasn't in that jail for more than 2 hours. So I had the mindset that I still had that mindset that I had to act first before. But coming to being down after that, being down and running into people from that side of town, like I learned today, like everybody doesn't have that same agenda. Like I got to sit down and talk to different people, know different people, and now I look at things different.
Yeah. Well, and I hope by now you have realized that you have to let people go. You don't owe anybody anything. You owe it to yourself. And sometimes those people that you let go are family members. I'll tell you, I would never, ever put my niece or nephew in a situation where they would harm themselves. So, it's okay to let them go and do your own thing. You have to stop being a follower. You have to be a leader and make your own decisions, and they have to be better ones.
And at this point in my life, that's exactly why I figure like it's okay to be selfish. Like today I'm selfish. Like I'm worried about myself. I'm not worried about nobody else. I'm worried about getting my life together. I'm worried about going down the path I want to go down. I'm not worried about nobody could dictate my actions today. Nobody could tell. Nobody whatever anybody else is doing, that doesn't have anything to do with me. I got a family that misses me. I got things that I never done before. I got things that I want to do. Like I want to go to school. I want to do good now. I don't want to be the old me. It's not going to happen.
Okay. You admitted yourself that you had anger issues in the past. How and when did you overcome those anger issues?
I'm just sitting down with, I felt like I was around so many people that was like me. So I was just feeding into that. But sitting down with older dudes, following religion, Islam, and with humble, mature minds, like that just gave me, just made me just humble myself. And now like, I know how to control my anger. Like I'm good. I could walk away from things like, a lot of things that used to get me mad don't even bother me anymore. I could.
Okay. Well, I mean, you've certainly taken every program possible, every program made available to you, and then some. You've gained a lot of skills that I hope you'll carry with you when you do get out. Eventually you are going to get out and you'll still be young and have a lot of life ahead of you. So, and you have a lot of options. You did auto body work, culinary arts, janitor work. You took college courses. I mean, you have a good start. And I think we could both agree that you wouldn't have had this if you didn't come to prison, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, who knows where you'd be right now, to be honest, but you certainly were not off to a good start. And I understand your surroundings were not that of the average kid. I mean, I just can't imagine carrying guns and selling drugs at 11, 12 years old. So I understand you were surrounded by just negativity and the criminal environment, but you did take advantage of your time incarcerated. I'm happy to see that. And you have plans to work with your mom too in the commercial cleaning business?
Yes.
That's a great skill, and you're lucky that you have the family support and they're willing to take you under their wings and help you, the positive ones. Tell me about the TV series that you're writing.
It's a series about like kids like me growing up thinking that like how they living is normal. So I wrote about a dude. I made this character of this old person. He'd been in jail for like 20 something years, and like he lost all contact being home due to like his sister family dying, and he really don't know like people out there. Like he don't have nobody to talk to, but his sister, son, and his friends end up all coming to jail when he find out that that's his nephew. So he around these young dudes and he see like how they talking and the stories they telling, and his side, he like, that used to be me, and like he want to get help for his nephew. So he end up eventually go home. He had cancer. He ended up eventually going home, meeting with old judges, meeting with old lawyers, scientists, and they come up with this program that they put all the kids in a room, and the scientists and NAACP, everybody sit behind a glass and they just let them talk. So when they talk, like let them talk freely. And when they talk, they telling stories amongst each other like it's okay. And the TV series like it will take back into that what happened, like what. Okay. And eventually, like I want it to be realistic, because eventually, like every kid ain't gonna make it out. Every kid ain't gonna see life the way like I see life, and the ones that do make it out, bless them. That's what I wanted to swallow.
Good. I mean, you have a lot to offer with your experiences, and if you can help a few people in the meantime, that's great. Your focus really should be giving back to your community, because you will get a second chance. Your victim never will. So don't take that for granted. Thank you for speaking with me. Ms. Page?
No questions, Madam Chair.
Okay. So at this time, we're going to turn the hearing over to the Office of Victim Services for some input. Ms. Vasquez, thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Madam Chair and board members. I have a couple of family members who are here today that would like to speak. I am going to have Miss English. You can unmute yourself. And if you wish to, you don't have to, you can turn on your camera. And this is your opportunity to address the.
Good morning. I'm the victim's mother. I understand everything this young man has said, every program he went to. My thing is, when you put an animal in a cage or you lock an animal in an environment, they have to adjust to that environment. That's what he is. He's an animal. He has adjusted. Okay? When you release that animal, they go back to knowing what they know best. My son was 19. He had his whole life ahead of him. Okay, my son was a mason. He took culinary arts, HVAC, high school diploma, everything by the age of 19. This young man chose to take my son's life. Him and everyone else that was in that car. Okay, they drove around that day looking for my son. My son was running away from the car. He chose to shoot my son. He chose to shot. He made the choice to shoot my son. That was his choice. They gave him 40 years suspended after 20. It's been 11 years. 11 years that my son has been gone. Do I feel that this young man should come out after 11 years? No. He was sentenced to 40 suspended after 20. I feel that he should do the whole 20 because I don't care what he took in jail. My son is not going to come back to me. He's not going to come back to his sisters, his brothers. His grandmother died because she lost her grandson. His grandfather died because they took his life. So not only did he take my son's life, he took my parents' life as well. They died from broken hearts. So no, do I feel that this young man should come home and be able to be with his mother, his grandmother, his father? No, that young man should sit there for another 10 years. He should do the rest of his time behind bars. And I know that it doesn't matter what I say because the board of partners is going to make their decisions, whatever decisions that they want to make. It really doesn't matter what the family members say because it's up to the board of partners to do what they do. But in my opinion, that young man needs to sit there another 10 years. He should do the rest of the time that they gave to him and not be able to come home and live his life while my son is in a cold ground. I have nothing else to say. Thank you for your time.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. English. Mr. Harris, this is your opportunity to unmute yourself by pressing *6, and this is your opportunity to address the board.
Hello?
Hi.
Good morning. Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Larry Harris, and I'm Justin's father. Now, I didn't know Justin was my son for a while. So in the beginning of his life, I wasn't there because I didn't know. And his mother left the state to move back to Connecticut. She left Massachusetts to move back to Connecticut because of an abusive relationship she was involved in. And I lost touch with my son. I called Maury Povich, and I tried everything to try and get a hold of my son. Took me years to do it, and I finally got him. I finally found him. And I had two sons, two biological sons. I'm a U.S. Marine Corps veteran. I turned 18 in Marine Corps boot camp. I graduated at 17 because my birthday's in September. And I a month after I was out of high school, I went into the Marine Corps boot camp. So I turned 18 on Parris Island. I gave the Marine Corps 6 years of my life. Right now, I'm a disabled Marine Corps veteran. I try to do right by all of my children. I have a daughter left because I had a son who was killed, shot and killed. My oldest son, Tyrell, was shot and killed in 2007. Justin was killed 5 years later. That impacted me so much. This man took my last son. 5 years I lost both sons. Both sons. I can't turn to them and talk to them or talk about sports. And a lot of times I'm watching sports and stuff, and I think I'm going to call my sons and talk. And I realize I can't because they're not there. They never will be there. I'm lost. I'm 62. God willing, I'll be 63 in September. And like I said, I done a lot of things wrong in my life, but I've paid for them and I've corrected them. But I don't want this man walking the streets. I just feel it'd be a slap in the face if you let him out and not serve his time. You sentenced him to a certain amount of time, and he should do it. I cannot get my son back, no matter what. No matter what you decide today, I can never get my son back. As a Marine Corps, disabled Marine Corps veteran, please, please keep this man inside. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, Mr. Harris. Ms. Moon, this is your opportunity to unmute your phone by pressing *6, and you can address the board member search.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Good morning, everybody. My name is Phyllis Moore. I'm Justin's aunt. I'm Larry's sister, and I'm speaking on behalf of my mother, Mary Ann Marks. My mom's 81, and so this whole technology thing, she doesn't know, right? So I'm speaking on her behalf, but I want to start by saying I commend him, right? I'm listening and I'm like, I started feeling bad. Like, damn, you understand? Like he has done a lot of good things, right? But I also agree with Justin's mom. Like, you understand? He's in a very structured environment, right? So I believe, and I think that my mom would believe this as well. He's doing well because he's in a structured environment. You understand? I feel like, my mom would say that she forgives him because my mom is a very forgiving woman. But my mom also taught us that if you do the crime, you do the time. You understand? So as many good things as he's done, and I pray that God continues to lead him on the path that he's on, to continue to do wonderful things. And I hope that he can come home and be a law-abiding citizen. But he needs to pay. He needs to sit there a little bit longer and really understand the depths of what he has done. He has destroyed families. Like my brother, that's my brother. I listen to my brother cry like hysterically. You understand? My mom is crying like she doesn't understand this. So she can't, it doesn't make sense to her. Like she does, both of her grandsons. You understand? These kids have to understand there's consequences to your behavior. And thank God that you found something in your brain that says, let me turn this around. That's beautiful. And I pray that it continues. But my mom would agree that he needs to stay there and do the time that he was sentenced to. And thank you all for hearing me, and everybody have a blessed day.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is all I have for this particular case. Thank you.
Thank you.
At this time, the attorneys will be afforded the opportunity to make a statement. We will now turn it over to the state's attorney. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes, thank you. I would submit that the board ought to take in consideration Mr. Humphrey's lack of candor. And I would submit there's been a lack of candor in terms of his version of what occurred that day. At the time Mr. Williams pled guilty, he admitted that he had fired out the window of the Durango. At the time he pled guilty, Mr. Humphreys also admitted to the same factual basis that there were two shooters. And this homicide occurred because Mr. Humphrey and his group of friends believed that Mr. Nalawazi and Mr. Davis were responsible for the death of Ms. Robinson. And what the defendant said here today, I would also submit, shows some sort of lack of candor in that he sticks, since his incarceration, I believe he has attempted to minimize his co-defendant's participation in this crime. I believe he testified at his brother, Roshan Robinson's habeas trial, and gave a version of events similar to today. Again, contrary to the evidence and contrary to the factual basis he admitted to, and contrary to what Mr. Williams, I believe, has already admitted to and what he's going to say here this afternoon. So I think the defendant still has this misguided sense of loyalty that I believe in large part played a role in the death of Mr. Nalawazi, that they had this, they believed they needed to avenge what had happened to Miss Robinson. I would also submit the defendant's version of events here today, he says, well, they were headed back to Stratford. The problem with that is that the car was actually moving away from Boston Avenue, which the intersection of Boston and Central, I believe, is about 10 or 12 blocks in the Stratford line. So his version they were heading back to Stratford is contrary to the fact that the Durango they were in was moving away from Stratford. So his version of events here today, again, I believe shows a lack of candor. And I believe that lack of candor to some degree indicates that he's not ready yet to be released. In this loyalty he still has to his co-defendants in his attempts to minimize their involvement while maximizing his. And it's convenient to do that after everyone has already pled guilty and been sentenced. It would have been different had he, in the pretrial stages, had he said he was the sole gunman, but that's not what happened. So I would submit that the board should take into account the lack of candor he has shown, not only in this proceeding, but in the prior proceeding on the habeas involving Mr. Robinson. So, and the board knows what Mr. Williams is going to say, and I think this should all factor into the board's ultimate decision here. Thank you.
Thank you. We will now turn it over to the private attorney. Do you wish to proceed?
I do. Thank you so much. I'd like to begin by reflecting on the language that's contained in the packet that I submitted, and it's from the Rosario decision. And I use that case, even though it's a district court case from New York, because I feel as though the language really encapsulates the balancing that the board and my client and the victim and the state's attorney go through, which is nothing that is said here today is meant to diminish the loss that Justin's family has suffered or the terrible actions of Joseph on that day. That's not what today's hearing is about, is for him to shirk his acceptance of responsibility or to avoid accountability. In fact, we see quite the opposite. But the purpose is to demonstrate that he's not the same person he was at 16 years old. Indeed, of course, as we're all aware, that's the reason that there are these juvenile parole hearings, because who an individual is at 16 is not necessarily indicative of who they will be as an adult. And again, not to diminish the loss the family has suffering, but one thing I want to make sure came through, and I'm not sure it even did from my packet or from Joseph today, is the level of grooming that truly occurred in his case. In the course of our conversations, I'm not a neophyte attorney, but I think there were so many moments. Joseph looked at me and said, how could they have appointed me this attorney who doesn't understand the community I really came up in? Because as I believe Ms. Chairperson, you brought up, how are you getting quantities of crack cocaine to sell at 12 and 13 years old? And Joseph would say, my family had so much quote unquote credibility in the streets that I was afforded that. And I would look at him and say, how are you getting alcohol from a store at 12 years old? And he looked at me as though my question was what didn't make sense. He was a Humphrey. He walked into the store, and if he wanted to purchase alcohol, he could. In our packet, we've referenced his favorite uncle growing up, Elijah, who's the closest in age and who's currently incarcerated for murder. But 3 out of the 4 uncles are actually presently incarcerated, and the 4th is only not incarcerated because he was just released from a federal penitentiary. And I say all that, again, not to diminish culpability, but to say that the work that Joseph has had to do personally to break away from that is almost akin to leaving a gang, but even worse because it's literally his family. So for him to be able to be at a place where he can sit before the board and separate, and again, Chairperson, your question was so insightful. You might have to cut your family off and leave your family behind, but to go through that as a young man, to go through that transition of realizing I love my uncles, but I don't need to be like them, and I don't want to be like them. And as to the parole suitability factors, I think ultimately at the core of many of the factors is the question, is Joseph and the community better served by his continued incarceration, or if he were released in the community and be able to help not only himself, but help other young men who are similarly situated as he was at the time. And I would hope the state would not disagree with this point that there is an epidemic and a pandemic of the young men in Bridgeport and New Haven, and there has to be a better way to get to them. And one thing about Joseph is he is committed, but he's also innovative. And when you asked about his television series, one of the ideas he had was to use actual kids from the community as actors, put them in those roles. This is someone who's thought of creative ways to give back. And when I prep any of my clients for the hearings, put together their statements, I always put the onus on them and I say, what is your plan? Hope is not a plan. Let me hear your plan. And if you're telling me one of your triggers is being back in the community, how are you going to help your community while avoiding? And right away he said, I'm going to go through churches. My friend who is a basketball coach, coaches 3 teams of young men. He told me I can be an assistant coach and I can get through to them that way. I don't have to be in the streets to have a positive impact on my community. And a small anecdote that both Joseph and his mother separately told me was when he was growing up, his mother fought so hard to give him this middle-class lifestyle and take him away from the streets of Bridgeport. And he was so resistant. And she would say to him, Joseph, you can still be fly and go to school. But that wasn't what he was seeing. He was seeing his uncles with the girls and the rap music and the cars. And there was no role model in the community that spoke to him. Of course, he had his stepfather, but as an older is someone who he felt he couldn't relate to. Whereas now at 28, Joseph is someone who can come out and speak to that next generation. And I think that's such an important part of the work that the board does, is it's creating an interim generation of young men who can come back out, connect with the 15 and 16-year-olds, and keep them from sitting in here and not waiting till they go to McDougal and meet an older inmate and get quote unquote scared straight. They can see someone who's lived it, experienced it, and says, don't do what I did. Look at his half-brother who he quoted saying, 5 years is nothing. I'm going to come out and life will still be the same. And here's Joseph in jail going, oh my God, that was my mindset. Look what I've done to the Nowalski family. Look what I've done to my family. And his impulse is, I need to stop that from happening. Can he change his disciplinary record at this point? No. Has he been honest about the struggles he's gone to progress and to to make sure that he doesn't revert back to his own behavior. And one of the parts of the narrative that Joseph didn't mention today is when he graduated from Tier 4, they wanted him to become an elder right away. But Joseph refused and he said, no, I want to go back to the block because I need to be able to test myself. And I need to be able to know that I can succeed, because if I can't succeed in jail, how can I expect to succeed back in the community? And so he returned to the block and did well. And again, the supervisors came to him and said, now will you be an elder? And he returned and he returned and he returned to mentor the other young men in his group. And briefly, I do just want to highlight the contrast between who he was when he came in, and not an excuse, but to just appreciate the moment when 16-year-old Joseph's being called in on his case for murder and looks across the bullpen and sees his grandmother with her own cases getting called. And he told me, as a corollary to that story, he started yelling at her, hey grandma, and the marshal yelled at him and said, stop taunting these older ladies. And then the marshal looked in the paperwork, came over and said, I'm so sorry, that is actually your grandmother. But this is a 16-year-old kid going to jail on a case across from his grandmother, coming from a home with uncles who are in and out of jail, who are glorified, and then are glorifying that lifestyle for him. So for him to go through the process of having tickets and fights, that can't be unanticipated. And that doesn't mean that it is condoned, but it is a point of progress to take someone who came up like that and who for years now has been ticket free and who has accepted accountability. Of course, do we wish it was sooner? Do we wish he spared his friends years of incarceration? Of course, but this is where he's holding now. And when we ask, is the community better served by him being incarcerated or him being released? When I think of the positive influence that someone like Joseph can have on the younger generation, well, he is respected by his peers. They do look up to him. He can be that person who, as his mom said, is fly and goes to school. That's who he is now. And he is at a point where he can share that story and be productive to the younger generation so that we're not all sitting here in 10 years hearing similar stories. And if there are no further questions from the board, I would rely on the submissions in the packet.
Okay, thank you. So, Mr. Humphrey, the panel will enter into deliberation at this time. Everyone's welcome to listen. Please don't interrupt, and we will give you our decision. Mr. Parole.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Certainly this is a devastating crime to so many people. And we heard from the victim's mother and father and aunt, speaking for grandmother as well. There is no fixing that. And, Mr. Harris faithfully served his country for 6 years in the Marine Corps, and I respect that. My dad was a Marine, and and he gave a lot to the community, as I know that when Mr. Harris came home, he did. What I'm asked to do here is take a look at this case, realizing the age of the Mr. Humphrey when he committed this offense, what his life was like leading up to this offense, and looking at all of those things that happen with young people, devastating in the streets like this, that's still happening today. Where I'm at with this case is obviously Mr. Humphrey came from a place where there weren't any role models for positive behavior at all. In fact, quite the opposite. It wasn't a neutral kind of thing. It's you grow you grow up like this and, you know, what do you become? You know, the males in Mr. Humphrey's life are, you know, as described, you know, and so where does the change occur? And, you know, in looking at this case, the change has to occur in any case with the offender. And certainly, you know, everything that I'm looking at here, Mr. Humphrey has done a lot of work. He has talked about when he laid out the programs that he's taken, and he talked about voices and his impact on victims. You know, he understands that. You know, and in fact, you know, in a certain way, Mr. Humphrey's a victim himself because he's had people that he cares about killed by senseless gun violence. You know, which even drives home further. You know, his understanding of taking somebody's life the way he did. You know, he has done incredibly well. He's taken programs to address violence, to address change. He currently is a mentor in the Tier 4 program, which in itself is helping other people who come from the drug culture be able to go back out and live their life in a different way. He's done some good things with education. In terms of a plan, he doesn't have it's not that he doesn't have a plan, he actually does have a plan, and he's executed on that plan while he's been incarcerated. By, you know, he had taken auto body and wants to do diesel mechanics and knows where he wants to go to do that program. He has excellent work evaluations, which tend to, you know, once he gets the credentials, which having taken classes through Second Chance program, there's no doubt in my mind that he can go and take that program and get a decent paying job, and as well have the time to have an impact on other young people in the community. You know, I really hope, I mean, there was a concentration on brother that we don't know if his brother's going to follow Mr. Humphrey, who's going to follow his uncles. But what we do know is that if you can't help one, you got to go help somebody else. And I think the attorney made a really good connection in that he has the ability to do that based upon this and a plan. And that's another thing that, you know, the gradual release, understanding that he's been away for a while, and also having the support of his mother, who's always supported him in the community and always been a positive role model there. For all of those reasons, based on the criteria of Public Act 1584, I believe that Mr. Humphrey is a candidate for parole.
Thank you, Mr. Pohl. Ms. Page. Thank you, Madam Chair. When I was reviewing Mr. Humphrey's file, I really was impressed by all the work that he had done and some of the insight that he provided. He clearly does show a change in his behavior from the time that he came into the facility up until today. And I really do commend him on all his efforts to turn his life around. I think Mr. Pohl said something that was very true to what everyone is experiencing today. And I think the attorney also mentioned it about these children and the guns and the senseless violence and how this really didn't even have to occur. Like, I mean, they have this kind of mentality where they have to retaliate. Like, it's all craziness. And unfortunately, when people get these guns and they go out into these communities and think that they can take the law into their own hands and settle their own cases, innocent people wind up losing their lives. And although he is doing well, I tend to side with the victim's family and the state's attorney in that there are consequences for your actions. And I think that this is one where he's been down for 12 years. He has a 20-year sentence. I just think that so many lives were affected by this, and that I would not be able to support him today, not because I don't think that he has done well, but I really do think that the nature of this offense and in this climate, the impact that it's had on the victim's family would support my vote to deny.
It is a horrible tragedy for everyone involved, everybody. And as the father said, and I really do appreciate the victim's family's input today, nothing we do today will bring Justin back. There's nothing we can do. I did express some concern given the disciplinary reports, although it's been 3 years, the disciplinary reports, the behavior and the following kind of behavior, the loyalty concerned me. I of course think there's still some work to do here. He has grown some in the past few years, but I do think that there's still some growing to do. And I certainly hope that he appreciates the opportunities that he'll have ahead of him when the victim will not. He's done a lot of good stuff. He really has.
It's very difficult, in these situations.
He's done a lot of good things. He's been in 11 and a half years, 60% of his time. Perhaps maybe coming back in 2 years would be beneficial for him.
But yeah, that would at least be 5 years with no tickets if he's able to do that and take some more college courses. I just
So you'd be in favor of a rehear?
I would not be opposed to a rehear.
I do think that he's done well, and I do think that he's changing. I just think it, like his attorney said, it took a little bit longer for him
to grasp it
than others,
especially when he sees his family in and out of prison too. It's still impactful.
Yeah. Okay.
That would be 6.
Yep. All right. Reasons for denial.
I have the nature, which is not going to
change. So I would certainly add more institutional adjustment.
Yes. And the injury and impact to the victim.
Not easy. In the matter of Joseph Humphrey, inmate number 385639, I'll make a motion to deny parole at this time for the following reasons: the nature and circumstance of the offenses, the injury and impact to the victim and the victim's family, and poor institutional adjustment as evidenced by your disciplinary reports. We'll rehear the case in 2 years, May of 2026. as indicated, that's the minimum by the Public Act, a 2-year rehear. Is there a second to the motion?
There is a second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, it's a unanimous decision. Okay. All right, Mr. Humphrey, we could not grant you parole today, but we do recognize the efforts that you've put forth, and we want you to continue on your path. We'll see you again in 2 years. That's the soonest we can do by statute. Keep doing the good work, stay out of trouble, and keep trying to help others, most importantly. Okay, we thank everyone for their appearance here today, especially the victims' family members.
And they denied and said that they'll get a rehearing in 2026 of May. And guess what? It's May 2026. So we are going to watch that rehearing. Before we do, I'm going to read your comments again, because remember, we played his hearing in full a couple of years ago. And I just want to read your comments. You can skip ahead. There's timestamps in the description if you want to skip ahead. But look, I mean, it is just wild to me, again, that they have that they paroled, I guess, his co-defendant in the first hearing who came in after him. And then this, it's just, I don't know. I can never wrap my mind around exactly how these parole board members think. And then also think for a second, the pain that the father has to continuously go through with all of these back-to-back hearings. It's just insane. Let me jump into this. I'm going to view it by, I'll include all of that and top comments, however YouTube decides. The top comment is, "My heart breaks for the victim's family. The second defendant sounds sincere. He speaks more on the victim than his own accomplishments of what he's done." By the way, if you want to see that hearing, I will leave a link in the description. Heartbreaking for the family. Thank you, Mandoo. Justin's attorney is fantastic. Okay. 12 years for taking a life, a slap on the wrist, an insult to the family whose lives are shattered. Appreciate your content. Well, thank you. He probably took, okay, where 40 years reduced down to 20. The parole board won't max him out the full 20 because he'll walk out completely free man without parole stipulations. Yeah, no, but they have baked in supervision, I think. Anyways, but I agree the second guy expressed true remorse. He did just that. Yeah, sorry, you didn't see the second guy. I'm not playing it for you. This lawyer was in a lot of the comments on the lawyer. I can't believe anyone, especially the parole board, would think that 12 years and a 40-year sentence is enough time for taking life, especially when they hunted down and killed an animal. If this was my kid, I would be waiting at the gates. Yeah, well, they really don't care that much about people who suffer. They just don't. Their own safety, they should stay in for at least 20 years. Wow, they granted him parole, paying for the victim's family. The justice system is no good. It's not. It's really broken. I've watched that TV series. Okay, your best coverage I've seen. I agree with here, probably even for the last man who was given parole of 15 years. First guy was under 18 when it happened. He was trying to take the rap for his boy. Well, he needs to finish his time for his own boy. He was caught, right? This guy is a complete manipulator and liar. He's still a gang member and he's still rocking with this gang. If he gets out early, there's a 100% chance that he's going to be back in prison for a lifetime. He's too hard, 100%. They don't make him like that no more. Well, let's see, guys. Let's just see. They're saying, this street code is what they're saying. But let's see what happens in this next hearing. Are they going to grant? Let's find out.
Joseph Jerome Humphrey, 385-639.
This is a public hearing this is a public hearing in accordance with Chapter 14, Freedom of Information Act, Connecticut General Statute 1200, which applies to this procedure. Mr. Humphrey, if you have any questions concerning the above, please bring your questions to the attention of the panel at this time.
No.
Are you willing to proceed at this time?
Yes.
This 1584 hearing is being conducted in consideration of the parole application for Joseph Humphrey, who is serving 40 years, execution suspended after serving 20 years, followed by 5 years probation for manslaughter first with a firearm. He also is serving 20 years concurrent for conspiracy to commit murder and 5 years concurrent for carrying a pistol without a permit. His total effective sentence is 40 years, execution suspended after 20 years, followed by 5 years probation. There is victim input in this case. There is an offender accountability plan for the offender. It has been reviewed and shows the offender has completed the following certifications since his last hearing. He is a certified CNA, a recovery coach. He participates in building trades, and he is starting college this summer at Montauk Community College. Utilizing the statewide collaborative offender risk evaluation system, the offender's overall score in RT falls within the moderate range of risk for recidivism. Mr. Humphrey, this is your opportunity to express to the board why you believe you should be granted parole. You may begin.
Thank you. Good morning. I would like to take a moment to thank the board for taking the time to make this happen, for giving me more time to become a better version of myself, and for the denial of the first hearing so that I could dig deeper within myself to find flaws that needed to be addressed. At first, it frustrated me because I thought I've shown enough growth and did what was necessary to enter back into society, but along my journey, I realized I was wrong. There were things I needed to go through and experience to make an impact in my life the way it did. One thing that was vital in my life that needed to be addressed was the feeling that I had to take responsibility for every role in my case. It gave that I was following the loyalty code when I really just felt like if it wasn't for me, no one would be in this situation. So though everyone played a part, why let them suffer? I realized that part of their journey was to take accountability, and by me taking full responsibility was holding them back from their own path of rehabilitation. It was also holding me back as well, because my effort was coming from a place of guilt, not growth. Another vital moment was crossing paths with victims, and this is a crazy story, but I believe it was Allah's plan. Before I get into exactly what I'm talking about, I would like to start from the beginning. So immediately after the last hearing, I signed up for the vet dog program, where I trained service dogs for disabled vets, because Justin's dad mentioned he was a vet. So even though what I've done can't be undone, I felt I should still give back. In that program, I trained many dogs, teaching them things like retrieving items, finding empty seats, opening and closing doors, turning on and off lights, comforting vets, etc. Training service dogs became something I learned to love doing. I helped many service dogs successfully graduate to help a disabled vet. I did this for a few months, then while in the program, a 3-month CNA class was offered to me, so I spoke with my counselor who ran the vet dog program to see if I could go take the class and return because the classes was held in a different facility, and he gave me the okay. At first, I wanted to take the class to just have another certification under my belt to help with my success in society, but it became much more along the way. So arriving at McDougal, my old facility where I've caught tickets at before, I didn't know what to expect or who to expect to come across. I just knew I came here for one reason only, to get my certification and leave. I did a few weeks just in the classroom, then once we reached a certain chapter in our workbook, we had to do a clinical part where we had to get a certain amount of hours working in the infirmary hands-on with ill patients that vary from patients with paralysis to patients with dementia to cancer patients and even patients on hospice. Now, this is what Allah had in store for me. So my first day at clinical, I showed up, signed in, and when I walked in the infirmary, it was patients out, but one in particular had his head down and was playing in his ear. Once he looked up, we locked eyes, and honestly, I thought seeing one of my victim brother, Brandon's brother to be exact, meant that everything I worked hard to get will come to an end, because I know that though I am where I'm at in my life, doesn't mean everyone else is. Surprisingly, it didn't turn out that way. We talked, I took care of him, willed him to his treatments, and that experience itself changed my outlook on life, period. I didn't go back to the vet dog program. Instead, I went back and worked in a hospital for the past 18 months, where I enjoyed being in the medical field and plan on taking it further once in society. Sadly, every day isn't an enjoyable moment in this field. Since working in the hospital infirmary, 3 hospice patients passed away, including one that was my first study when I transferred from Manson Youth to McDougal. It's hard watching patients go through the emotions, knowing their last days is here, but giving them that comfort on those days, getting a smile out of them, or even just sitting there being the ear they need or hand to hold does something for me. One thing that keeps me wanting to go further in the medical field is taking care of dementia patients. I love taking time to learn them and their triggers that gets them through the bad days. For example, I have a patient that doesn't understand where he's at, and at times it frustrates him, but he loves working out, and you can tell he did a lot of that before the illness. So when he have his outbursts, I learned to bring things up about working out or even challenging him to a push-up contest, and that will turn the moment around or even his day. I have another patient who loves to sing and dance. On his bad days, I'll turn on the music and sing and dance with him. I enjoy getting patients through today and worry about tomorrow when it comes. When I came before you, my last hearing, I only completed part 1 of CCAR. I continue to take the rest of the CCAR class to become a recovery coach, in which I completed. I did the ethics class where it taught me to be ethical in a place of work. For example, recovery's information should stay between the coach and the recovery, not amongst other coaches. Then I went on to do the professionalism class where it taught me professional mannerisms. Ethical and professionalism go hand in hand. For the past 7 to 8 months, I've been in school for building trades where I'm hands-on learning plumbing, masonry, electrical, HVAC, roofing, flooring, and sheetrocking. I recently passed the OSHA 10 test, so now I'm OSHA 10 certified and working towards getting my OSHA 30. While furthering my education in the medical field, I plan on building clientele, remodeling bathrooms. I know social media is big, so I'll post videos and pictures to do so, starting with my mother's bathroom. This summer, I should be starting my college semester for my associate's degree, and some classes I'll take will help towards my medical career. If I was to be released, I will be able to transfer my credits to any Connecticut State Community College using my Pell Grants. For the past 2 years, I've been doing a lot of self-reflection, making growth a priority, putting myself first without noticing the influence I had on others. I've helped train 13 personal care assistants that will soon become CNAs. I helped out with seminars, one in particular ran by Formerly Inc., where I was able to speak. We played a game that had real life challenges in it where you had to prioritize your life choices. I couldn't tell them it would be easy or even hard once in society because I haven't been home in almost 14 years. And when I was home, I was only 16. But what I could talk about is my trials and tribulations and patience and consistency to remain staying on the right path and putting my energy into become the best version of myself, making me the role model I am today. But the best part about it all is they see my effort and work ethic. So not only am I talking the talk, I'm also walking it. And I will bring the same blueprint into society with me. Fortunately, I have a good support system. I have many family and friends as well as programs that's willing to help me with my transition back into society if I was to get granted parole, and I'm grateful for them all. If released, my wonderful mother is willing to be my sponsor. She runs her own commercial cleaning business called KMT's Cleaning that I'll be helping with. Also, if approved parole, my CNA coordinator will give me a reference letter to help when applying for a CNA job. She will also renew my CNA license to give me a fresh 2 years with it. I want to take the time to apologize to the family of Justin. On October 30th, 2012, I made the worst decision of my life that terribly impacted many. I contributed in a crime that ultimately someone lost their life in. I'm sorry for that choice I made on that day. I'm sorry for robbing your family of someone you love, and I'm sorry for robbing the mother and the father of their child. I lived in regret for almost 14 years. During these years, when I lost friends and family, I always tried to imagine how you feel, but there's no way I can imagine the feeling of losing a child. I wish I could take the hurt and pain away. I wish I could go back and correct my decisions. The more I grow, the more hurt and regret I feel for the choice I made. And every day, I feel even more shame. I have younger siblings that has to grow up hearing the terrible things their brother did. I have parents that have careers and they too carry my mistakes, which make me feel like a burden. But though the regret and shame will follow me for the rest of my life, it doesn't compare to what his family has to live with. Holidays, birthdays, good times, and even bad times without him. And I'm deeply sorry for that. I wish my apologies could make everything just go away. Both mothers don't deserve to go through what I put them through. I accept responsibility for my actions, and I don't look for forgiveness, but I just want you to know I'm genuinely sorry for the trauma I moved in your life. I also want to apologize to my family for all I put them through. I want to express my appreciation to the board for these past 2 years. Thank you for actually seeing something in me that I didn't, giving me the opportunity to take the steps that was needed to be the man I am today. I now have more tools, mentally and physically, to help me be a productive man in society. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Humphrey, for that statement. We certainly appreciate you putting your thoughts into words. So this is a rehear. You were before us 2 years ago. Actually, myself and Ms. Berry were on your panel 2 years ago. So we thought you needed a little more time, a little more work. But again, we went back, we reviewed your entire case file, everything from your PSI, the things in your youth through to your current time incarcerated. So we're very well versed in the offense itself, all the things that you've done, good and bad, while incarcerated, in addition to the decision information summary from our officer here and the correspondence from your attorney. We do have some additional questions. We probably won't go through the whole thing again because we did that with you 2 years ago, but when we're done with our questions, we'll ask the Office of Victim Services to facilitate victim input here today. And then your attorney and the state's attorney, Attorney Parmicella, will have the opportunities to give statements. Okay, at the end of it all, we'll give you our decision just like we did the last time. Do you have any questions?
No, thank you.
Okay, we'll begin with my colleague, Mr. Zarkov.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon, Mr. Humphrey.
Good afternoon.
You've clearly been staying very busy in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
I am not going to go back and go through all the details of your offense because that was covered at the last hearing. But I would like to go back to the last hearing and just ask you how you handled the decision from the previous board, which of course was the denial. What was your thinking process at the time?
At first, I was frustrated because I was doing programs, I was doing a lot. I feel like I was doing a lot then too, but then once I went back and I got into the dog training program, everything started hitting me. Everything, other opportunities started coming. I started getting in different situations where it made me realize it was more that needed to be done.
So you did the vet dog program for a few months before transitioning to CNA program?
Yeah.
And you've been doing that now for how long? 18 months, or is it longer?
18 months.
All right, what's your schedule like right now?
So like I said, before, when I first went to the CNA program, it was only 3 CNAs. So now I help train 13 PCAs. So now I got a little bit more time on my schedule to focus on school and stuff. But right now, from At work, I go to work CNA as a CNA from 4 to 10. But during the daytime sometimes it's different days. So sometimes I'll go to school at 8, almost 8 o'clock in the morning to 11 something. And sometimes I'll go from like 11, 12 something to 2:30.
And when you say school, this is the CNA program, right?
No, I'm in building trades.
Building trades, got it. So the trades in the morning, about 8 to 11 or so, then CNA program at night.
Yeah.
And the associate degree that you mentioned, this is something that you plan to start, right? The summer?
Yeah, this summer.
Talk to us about your short-term plans and long-term plans when you're released.
Well, from being in the CNA, well, my short-term plan is to get a job. But being in the CNA field, like I learned about this app called Intelli. So they always need CNAs, and I'm licensed by the state. So all you got to do is put in your license, and you could actually like click wherever. It's a lot of places that you could go. You could actually click, and they will like pop up on the screen and give you an interview and send you to that wherever they need work at. But my long-term goal is I want to finish college. I don't exactly know what I want. I know I want to deal with dementia patients or hospice, but I don't know exactly the title I want in that field. As of right now, I still want to go and do more in the medical field first before I even make that decision.
What do you think is going to be difficult for you when you're released?
I feel like the most I'm worried about is time management because I want to do so much that I know it's only 24 hours in a day. I want to go to school. I want to work. Like I still have like younger siblings that I want to build a relationship with because I've been gone since they was like 4 years old. Build a relationship with my mother. So to me, it will be time management.
Some of your family are either incarcerated or involved with the justice system, right? How are you going to navigate that when you come back?
Say it again?
Some of your family have been in the justice system, right? They're either incarcerated or under supervision.
Yes.
How are you going to handle that situations?
Well, the ones that's home, they doing well for themselves. My stepbrother, he has his own business. He got out a couple years ago. The other family members that's incarcerated, I really haven't. I've been gone, so I really don't even like really know too much or even like speak about them. But navigating around that is like I said, I put myself first. So me not coming back to this place, that's my priority.
Once you settle down in the community, do you have any plans or ideas for how you can give back to the community for the harm that you caused?
Oh yeah, well I have me and so I'm in this dorm area. It's probably like 60 something people in it, but it's really like three of us that is like mentors of that dorm. So me and another one came up with the acronym PAIN, like positive attitudes and negativity. So I want to give back. I want to give back to the people because everybody has pain. Like everybody has something that they're going through, no matter how old you are. So I want to deal with youth, people older than me, because walking through these halls, like from the road that I'm going down now, I see like it's more dudes that's older than me that like they're watching me, so they come up to me, ask me for advice. Me being young, like at first when I started getting that, at first I'm like, you older than me, but I realized that, man, knowledge don't have no age limit. But yeah, that's how I want to work with youth. No matter what it is, whether it's giving back, whether it's handing out food, whether it's taking kids to basketball games or doing stuff with them that that keeps them from going in the same path that I went.
Okay, well, thank you for talking to me. I think that's all I have, Madam Chair. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Decker. Barry? Thank you. So, Mr. Humphrey, I was on your prior panel, I had a different last name, but I remember talking with you and we spoke extensively about the offense. And you took the position, if I'm not mistaken, that you were the front passenger when you held both guns.
Yeah, that's what I did.
How did you do that? I mean, both of them. That was really difficult to understand, but I know we've seen quite a few of your co-defendants in our passings because they're in situations similar to yours. And we decided to have you come back. And part of the reason why we wanted you to come back was because, one, there were so many people involved in your crime. And we did want you to do some more work, but I think the main reason was that the victim was really opposed to your being released early. And I'm not going to assume that their position has changed. But I heard you speak about your work in hospice, and I'm interested in knowing, because the documents that I reviewed said that this victim, while he lay on the ground, his mother was there, and one of his friends, and he told them, "I'm going to die." Having been in hospice now and seeing people who are on their last leg or their last stage of life, can you sympathize or empathize with this family having lost their loved one?
Yes, that was going through like hospice, because I have to, and in hospice, I sit there with the patient. So it's not like these patients is like passing away and I'm not around. I'm like physically there with the patients, helping them get through this. Like, so, and that hospice is really that's one of the things that really like hit me hard with my whole case, because I can only imagine what his mother was going through.
And I mean, most of the time when people are in hospice, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but when people are on their deathbed, so to speak, they really want to live. Like they just want another day and, more time with their family or whatever the case may be. So how do you navigate between that? Because, and do you see any similarities in the pain that your victims would have endured in those people that are wanting to live or wanting the doctors to do a little bit more so that they don't die? Do you understand? Like I'm trying to say.
I get exactly what you're saying. Yeah, I see. It's basically the same thing. Like I had no right to do what I did. I had no right to be the judge on somebody else's life. He could have been doing better than what I'm doing, and I robbed him of that. Feel me? And I'm deeply sorry for that. And like I had like I said, I had a hospice patient that he was my first cellie from when I came from Manson Youth. And him being around me, like he was more comfortable because he know me, but any day he could have been gone. So somebody else will come like try to help him, and he would take offense into that. He would take offense, like he always say, I'm a strong Black man, I don't need no help, feel me? But I could tell that it's like he's not ready to go. And I feel me, and with my situation, it's the same exact thing. Like I had no right to be the judge on somebody else's life.
Right, to take that from another person. I mean, life is precious. And, in these type of crimes, we really do take, very seriously. Gun violence is so prevalent in so many different communities. And so it's really important that we release those individuals back into the community who understands the negative impact that these weapons and thinking that you can resolve your own issues by being in possession and in your case, utilizing it and taking away a life that, wasn't yours to take. So I appreciate your explanation of that, Mr. Humphrey. My next thing I wanted to talk to you about was you spoke about your victim's family being in the hospital or something like that, you said. And you thought that it was going to be an adverse interaction between, the two of you. So I'm interested in knowing which family member it was. How were they related? Cousin, brother, sister?
It was Brandon's brother.
Brandon's brother. Okay. I don't know who. So if you thought that things would be tense between the two of you there in the facility, how do you intend to handle that when you're back out in the community?
In that moment, like it just that just came. I couldn't even like separate myself. I didn't have no other options. Like I was there. Feel me? I tend because I don't know what. Like I know that
in your opening statement, you said I knew that I changed, but I can't expect that to be everybody else's journey. I heard you say that in your statement, so I understand that. But again, you're asking to go back out into the community, and I mean it's going to be inevitable that you run across someone that remembers what you did. I know you're going back to the same town, so or you aspire to go back to the same. I'm just interested in knowing how you're going to handle those interactions.
I will hope that I'll be able to like talk or something, because I don't intend to, like I said, I don't intend to like look for forgiveness, but I hope that they feel me, accept my apology and know that I'm really sincere. Like I said, I can't speak on like how it is, because I understand that what I did was severe.
You're not fearful of returning back to the same community though? A fear of retaliation? I know that Bridgeport still has, this one east side, west side, I don't even know what it is. I know that they still are very proud of their neighborhoods, and I've read your whole story. But so I'm interested in knowing, how you're going to avoid that. Don't you think that going to a different town or starting over?
No, that's my plan. Like once I'm out there, like my mother, she lives in my mother, she lives in a part of Bridgeport that's suburban, like it's a different part of Bridgeport. So once I'm stable, my plan is to go.
All right. I mean, the good thing is that you didn't receive any further disciplinary infractions. You have completed more programs. You really have put your best foot forward to try to change your life. And I'm hoping that you'll be successful. If you're not granted parole here today, you do have 5 years of probation to follow your sentence, so you will get some help. You're 30 years old now?
Yes.
You have to spend your 30th birthday in prison. Do you want to spend your 40th in prison?
No, man.
So I'm really hoping that this is it for you, Mr. Humphrey. Tell me something that would help the family feel a little more comfortable with your returning back into the community, despite what you've done.
I know that me going back into the community, it's gonna be a lot of eyes watching. And I know that that I'm going to remain on that same path. So whoever's watching going to see that I'm still doing the same thing from when I was incarcerated. I'm still going on the same path and continue working on myself and being a productive man.
I hope so, Mr. Humphrey. You know, it's a really, it concerns me that you want to return to the same community, and I hear that you aspire to do something different. So I'm really hoping that you can try to get back and working in your field. That is a good thing. CNAs, I mean, hospitals need the additional help. So I really do hope that you follow through with that, but not only in that capacity, perhaps volunteering at some youth programs or something to speak about, you know, having been a formerly incarcerated individual and that one choice that you made changed your entire life kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Okay, so my colleague mentioned the previous hearing, I mentioned it too, but you know, we did have obviously concerns about the tickets that you had prior to that. So I appreciate that you haven't gotten any disciplinary reports since that last one in 21. The victim input was, of course, compelling, but we also learned in the last hearing, you know, that the same day we saw one of your co-defendants and you both said you were the shooter. So that was disappointing because obviously one of you is lying, you know, we're not here to retry the case, but it was just disappointing that after all this time, I don't know if there was some kind of agreement that everybody would say they did it so that not one person would be, well, I'm not sure, but then we also learned of a habeas that you had filed where you claimed that you weren't the shooter. Is that right?
That I weren't? No, I said I was.
In the habeas, you said you were the shooter?
I said I was the shooter.
Okay.
It was not your habeas, right? It was your brother. I'm sorry, if I may clarify, it was not Mr. Humphrey's habeas petition. I think you might be referring to his brother, Rashawn's, where Mr. Humphrey testified as a witness.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, as Ms. Berry said, we've seen it multiple now. So we got different stories, but
Because you've never done a habeas, right?
you've never filed a habeas.
He's never
Okay.
really.
Got it. Then I was referring to the other one that we learned about. Okay. But I really am happy to see that you took the extra time that we gave you and you used it to continue to better yourself. You know, the type of work that you're doing where you're providing service for others is that's what we like to see, you know, and I really do hope that you'll follow through with that when you're in the community. You have a lot to offer. You're still very young at 30 years old, so you have a lot of life to live and you have the time to really give back, you know, whether it's now or 5 years from now, but you can be a good example for a lot of troubled youth out there. Okay, so at this time, we're going to turn to the Office of Victim Services and hear the victim input. Ms. DeJesus, thank you for joining us.
Hi, good afternoon, board members. I do have a brief statement and it reads as follows. I do not want him released. I want him to complete the rest of his sentence incarcerated as he was the shooter. That is all that I have, board members.
Thank you.
And the attorneys will be afforded the opportunity to make a statement. We will now turn it over to State Attorney Formichella. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes. Good afternoon, members of the Board of Pardons and Parole. My name is Jonathan Formichella. I'm Assistant State's Attorney for the Judicial District of Bridgeport. After reviewing Attorney Fetterman's packet that she put together for her client and reviewing both DISs, once for the previous hearing 2 years ago and the one that was most recently released this month. I've had a lot of time to reflect and review Mr. Humphrey's progress that he's had since he's been incarcerated and the growth that he's demonstrated through his period of incarceration. And Mr. Humphrey should take great credit and should feel good about himself, about the work that he's done while he's been incarcerated. Educating himself, learning valuable skills for a career after his incarceration, as well as learning empathy, learning to help those who are recovering from substance abuse. Most recently, his interactions in the vet dog program, as well as learning the skill of the CNA and potentially pursuing that as a career path after his period of incarceration. No matter what the decision of the board is today, Mr. Humphrey will be released, and he will be released as a younger man with a lot of his life ahead of him. And it's the state's hope that everything that Mr. Humphrey has done in a positive way while he's been incarcerated, he will continue to build upon whenever he's released. That being said, there are some issues that I would ask the Board of Pardons and Parole to consider when making its decision here today. And the first is the both two of the reasons why the board had denied him 2 years ago: the injury and impact to the victim and the victim's family. The victim in this case was approximately 20 years old at the time that he was shot, a young adult, very much like Mr. Humphrey, and that the victim had died in his mother's arms. There is nothing that anyone on this earth can do to take that pain away from that mother or that family based upon what happened. And Mr. Humphrey's actions not only took that life away from the victim's family, but as Mr. Humphrey stated in his opening statement and through his answers to the board, also severely damaged his own family, taking himself away from his own mother and his own family for these many years. And Mr. Humphrey is growing in understanding about how his actions that day significantly impacted not only the victim's family, but his own family. And it is good to see that he's growing in that understanding, which he really didn't have that understanding when he was initially sentenced. And again, I would also cite the nature and circumstances of the offense as an issue. Another issue that I found when reviewing Mr. Humphrey's packet and listening to Mr. Humphrey was that there's a concern about Mr. Humphrey returning to the same community in which this had occurred, and in the same community in which was harmed by Mr. Humphrey and his co-defendants' actions. I have no doubt that Mr. Humphrey has learned a lot during his incarceration, but I do question whether it's in his best interest to return to that community and be exposed to similar factors that were present when he was younger. Previously, in his DIS from 2 years ago, Mr. Humphrey was quoted as citing a neighborhood beef and prior instances of violence that led to the tragic killing of the victim. Whether or not those same neighborhoods still exist or the same animosities still occur in those neighborhoods is a concern for Mr. Humphrey returning to that community and potentially exposing himself to the same factors that led to his incarceration, including his presence in the drug trade. Now that he is a recovery coach, I hope that he continues down the path of helping others with their addictions and not feeding into the same behaviors that led to his involvement in violence. I would also state that it is a concern that Mr. Humphrey may be interacting with his former co-defendants while he is released, and returning to the same community in which this happened creates a greater likelihood of him interacting with those that he was involved with previously. It does not help that Mr. Humphrey's stepbrother was one of his co-defendants and is a family member of Mr. Humphrey. And so there's a concern about interactions with those individuals that were involved in the offense and potentially relapsing into problematic behaviors that put him in prison in the first place. I did hear that Mr. Humphrey did acknowledge that it would be temporary or starting point for him to move in with his mother in Bridgeport, and that she now lives in a different area than where these problems had occurred. But there are concerns about Mr. Humphrey returning to the community falling into the same group of friends and family that had led him down a wrong path that led to the tragic killing of the victim. And so I'd ask the Board of Pardons and Paroles to consider that as well. I would also point out 2 tickets that Mr. Humphrey did receive. And Mr. Humphrey should be commended for not getting a ticket in the last approximately, I believe, 5 years. And Mr. Humphrey's done a great job of staying ticket-free since 2021. But there are 2 tickets that I find problematic. One was 10 years ago in September of 2016, in which Mr. Humphrey and his uncle beat up a person that was friends with the victim. Again, that was 10 years old, but I would say the subject matter of that fight is incredibly troubling. I'd also say his last ticket, which was a fighting ticket in January of 2021, was when he jumped into a fight in order to help a friend of his. And although I think we can all acknowledge that defending a friend can be a noble experience, exposing oneself to violence, defense of another, is also problematic behavior. I believe Mr. Humphrey did speak about that in the DIS, and may have spoken about it a little bit today about learning different behaviors. But the state does find that to be troubling behavior because of the context of the underlying offense and either seeking retribution for past violence, and that an eye for an eye is not the way to go through life. And I hope that Mr. Humphrey realizes that. So at this time, based upon the nature and circumstances of the offense, as well as the impact to the victim, the state would object to Mr. Humphrey's early release at this time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will now turn it over to Attorney Fetterman. Do you wish to proceed?
Yes, please. And I too want to begin by thanking the board for the opportunity to hear from Mr. Humphrey again. And quite frankly, I didn't know how Mr. Humphrey would respond after the board's previous denials. This is in many ways a very adult experience for Mr. Humphrey to go through. When he came in, he was 16 years old. So I don't think he ever had the experience of working towards something and wanting something and then not getting it. And I was, quite frankly, concerned that that was going to be the end of the road, that he was going to throw up his hand, say, I tried, I'm still in here, and what was the purpose? But instead, when we spoke again months later, I was astounded by his response and the efforts he took, and how immediately when he got back to Osborne, he met with his counselors and he said, what more can I do? And I think in that response, we can see his maturity and his growth and what he's done, becoming a CNA, the vet dog program, the housing trade. It's such a leap from who he was 10 years ago when he got those tickets and who he was 2 years ago. And when he said in his statement that he wanted to thank the board for seeing something in him that he didn't see in himself, he has expressed, that is sincere. That is something he has expressed to me that he didn't even realize there was another level. And you heard him say that today, that he thought he'd done enough. But it wasn't until he started really in these service areas in DOC, being in the vet dog program, working with hospice patients and dementia patients, that unlocked a whole different part of his personality, his character, and demonstrates his compassion. And he has so many stories of patients he's worked with that he's told me. And one of the ones that I really like, it's referenced in Dr. Friedman's report, but one of his patients was a former boxer who's nonverbal. But Joseph, of all the professionals here, found a way to communicate with him by doing sparring exercises and counting, and that engages this patient, and then he does verbalize with Joseph. And to find that calling in here is so amazing. And I do want to address the state's concerns and the board's concerns, because I don't want to be dismissive of them, about Mr. Humphrey returning to Bridgeport. I would note, as Mr. Humphrey stated, his mother lives in a suburban area of Bridgeport, which she did for many years. Both his mother and his stepfather are working professionals. And as is referenced in our packet, part of the struggle for this family was keeping Mr. Humphrey out of the projects where his uncles were, where his grandmother was residing, but that's not actually where Mr. Humphrey's family lives. And I think it's not a detriment that his stepbrother is his co-defendant, because his stepbrother has come out and has done so well. And that's someone who's going to be a support person. He submitted a letter that I also submitted to this board. He has a dog training business. He works with people with disabilities. You'll note, I think it's referenced in the prior letter from Mr. Humphrey's stepfather, he was previously incarcerated as well. But instead of staying on that path, he now has his CDL, and he has led a productive life, never returning to the criminal justice system. So the role models that Mr. Humphrey has available to him are unlike someone who's just getting placed back in the projects of Bridgeport and running a very high risk of recidivism. That's not the circumstance here. And even, of course, Mr. Humphrey has similarly situated friends, many of whom have benefited from these hearings. And the ones he is in contact with are success stories, have gone in at young ages, have followed a path that Mr. Humphrey has followed, and have come out and are professionals and stable and have families and support networks. And that's who's going to be there for Mr. Humphrey. And I hope, because I have seen such a progression and a change, and I hope that came across to the board today as well. And I think it's quite poignant that both Rashawn and Mr. Humphrey, when they have left DOC, or when Mr. Humphrey obviously is still here, they've chosen paths in service. So again, Rashawn works with using his dog training to address youth in the community and show them that there are other career paths available. And then he also works with people with disabilities. And of all areas of healthcare to be drawn to, that Mr. Humphrey is drawn to hospice patients and dementia patients, speaks to his character. And we noted in the packet, his parents do operate a commercial cleaning business, but his mother is also an LPN working toward becoming an RN. So that is someone who is going to be a support person professionally and personally for him. And you heard him say the CNA coordinator here is prepared to write him a reference letter and renew his license. So he'll have 2 full years from the time he leaves here to then get his career started for himself. So I'm incredibly proud of the work he's done. And I was disappointed, of course, when parole was denied last time, but to see everything that came in those 2 years from the denial is truly outstanding. So I really appreciate the board giving Mr. Humphrey that opportunity. And if there are no further questions for myself or Mr. Humphrey, we again appreciate the opportunity to be before you again today.
Thank you. Okay, at this point, the panel will enter into deliberation, and we'll come back to you with our decision shortly. Mr. Daka?
Chair. Mr. Humphrey was 16 years old when he committed a number of offenses, including homicide, where the victim lost his life. While incarcerated, he completed all kinds of programs that were available to him. He was denied, of course, discretionary parole 2 years ago, and he could have handled it many different ways. In his old way of thinking, he could have gotten a number of DRs and really he could have given up. Instead, it really seems like he handled it like an adult, and he invested more in himself. And now he has more opportunities to succeed in the community. He does have some disciplinary reports. Last one was more than 5 years ago, certainly not since the last hearing. He has a good plan when he comes out, with support structure. I think he has a lot to contribute to the community when he's released. So my vote will be to grant discretionary parole today.
Thank you. Ms. Berry?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I agree with what my colleague stated. I mean, I, for one, am proud of Mr. Humphrey, and I'm happy that he was able to show that he is more mature and that he is capable of making better decisions. He gave several examples of some of the things that he's faced while he's been in the prison, and he's been able to manage getting around those adversities in a positive manner that does not require any kind of physical violence. I mean, people argue, they get mad, we all do that, but it doesn't escalate to a point where someone has to die. So that's what we're trying to avoid in the future. I think that he has demonstrated a level of change that warrants his being released early. So I too would support his discretion.
Thank you. I agree with everything that's been said. I think we see the rehabilitation. I think he can go out there, be successful, and give back to the community. I want to thank the families, the victim, for providing a statement here today. Can't be easy going through all of these hearings. All right, for conditions, I have family members L, H, P, M, and J, E, and then we have the 4 co-defendants. Is there anything further? In the matter of Joseph Humphrey, MA number 385639, I'll move to grant parole. It's on or after today's date, which is May 18th, 2026, with the following conditions. No contact with the family members of your victim. The initials are LH, PM, and JE. And you'll see their names in this position. And no contact with your co-defendants, Rashawn Robinson, Kane Minor, Khalik Brown, or Jaquan Williams. And Rashawn Robinson is without the parole officer's permission because it is a family member. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Do you have any questions, Mr. Humphrey?
No, thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your participation today. Go out there and do some good, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
This concludes the 1584 hearing. Mr. Humphrey, 389-639.
And just like that, he's paroled. I mean, really, it doesn't, for me, I'll just say this for me. And I hope that I didn't, I didn't know how to do this, guys, like, combining the different hearings, and there's more hearings that I didn't combine. And some of you have seen some of them, and some of you haven't seen all of them. And I skipped over their opening statements, and a lot of that I am nervous, but we're 3 hours and 20 minutes in, and I just don't know how else to do this. Do I make one giant 6-7 hour long segment and cover all of it and point out all the cases? I don't know, guys. I don't know. Maybe you're picking up on things also that I haven't picked up on, because frankly, my mind is a little brain rot right now after just sometimes I'm not all there, guys. Sometimes I'm not all there. But my takeaway from this, really, this is my bottom line takeaway, is that they just do not care for the truth. They don't really care. Right? It's hard for me to imagine if this was like a Miss Honorable Judge Bonnie Jackson hearing out of the state of Louisiana, that they wouldn't just grant without trying to really know what the truth is. And this poor father that has to get reminded over and over and over and over and over and over, and all these games, the legal system that they're playing, and the idea that they got already reduced sentences, and it's like, and these are hardcore gangbangers killing people. And then it's like, it's almost like they're in cahoots, and they all have different stories. And it's just, to me, it's just a mockery of justice. And then the ADA comes up, and it's almost like he's a defense attorney for the guy. I really feel like I'm watching a defense attorney. He's talking how great he is. And it's like, where's your passion for what you do, and compassion for, just say, who is it? Who pulled did he both hold 2 guns out the window? Was that what you were doing? Like, just tell us. And I get it's more complicated. They can't. They have this thing. If they do, they'll get they'll be signing their own death wish, and things aren't so simple. But then it's like, okay, well, then, too bad. You're gonna do your time. Now, if you want to go on the flip side, you want to give him credit. He did do well. Now, we covered a hearing. Check out the Act 23-169 playlist if you like this format, where you have the attorney and the DA. We covered a hearing that took place the same day as this hearing, this final hearing. And the guy also had a 2-year, and he came back and he had done nothing in the 2 years. And he actually had write-ups. So, there are nuances that you can look at and differences, and you can still have some appreciation for when, but man, look, it's it leaves such a nasty taste in my mouth. I think yours as well. But yeah, I don't know. Let me know in the comment section if you would prefer I put them all together and do like this giant hearing. I don't know how the mods would do it for the live stream. It's just crazy how long it would be for them. But anyways, guys, let me know. The best way is to communicate with me in the comment section how you want me to handle these, because part of me does want to connect all of the hearings together. But look, the bottom line is someone was killed, mistaken identity. We still don't know who the killer was, and they're getting paroled like this. That just doesn't sit well for me. With that, I'll let you go.